Welcome to Table Reads Tuesday's reading of Groundhog Day. Welcome to Table Read Tuesday's reading of Groundhog Day. All right. Yes, I'm lame. Okay, but we're reading Groundhog Day, and if you haven't seen it, I won't mention names. You have to watch it. It's awesome. It's a great movie. It's fun. And we're going to have a blast here. We're going to see how different the script is because we know from doing a little research the original script is quite different from what ended up in the movie. So we'll see where this version of the script we read is, and we can talk about some of that afterwards. But before then, we're going to meet this amazing cast that's here to read and act and experience all of this with us. So first up, we have Morgan Toll.
Hi, I'm Morgan, and I'm just excited to be here again.
And we're excited to have you. Yay!
Yes. Vicky Dykes.
Hello, I'm Vicky Dykes. I watched this movie for the first time just a couple of hours ago. I know, it was just one that for some reason I missed it. I wanted to see it. I'm a Bill Murray fan. You know, it's just weird.
There's lots and lots of movies to be able to see them all. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. And tonight I'm playing Holly and a bunch of other people. Add them up, there's about 18 of them.
Wow, that is a lot to keep track of. All right, we're going to talk about more after the movie, but just real quick, what did you think of it?
I really liked it. And I liked the humor in it, so it should be interesting to see the difference tonight with this one. It's probably not as funny. So.
I mean, I saw on the script title page that Harold Ramis does have a pass on this one, so this will be funnier than the original one. But we'll see. I haven't read it yet. But
okay.
Heather Lee Cameron.
Hi, I'm Heather Lee Cameron, and today I'll be playing Phil. And no, I haven't seen it. And thank you, Jacob, for outing me.
I wasn't mentioning any names.
Yeah, you did. Anyway, I haven't seen it, but I'm looking forward to putting my own spin on Phil. But at least I look the part, and I look darn good looking the part. So there.
All right. Now, next after good looking Heather Lee Cameron, we also have good looking bunny ears Petra Stedman. I mean groundhog ears. Sorry.
Oh no, they're definitely rabbit. They're bunny. So hi, Petra Stedman. Big fan of the movie. I have now lost count of the number of times I've seen it. I remember watching it when I was 10. I wasn't allowed to watch it when it came out, but I was allowed to watch it when I turned 10. And I watched it, I think, at least 3 times the first time I saw it, and then proceeded to almost burn out the videotape, and then have seen it pretty much every single time it's on since then. And occasionally, yeah, it does feel like my life is just living over and over and over again, but it's really fun. It's great. It's a great movie. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the differences between script and screen.
Yeah. Too bad Bill Murray didn't have this movie to watch over and over. Like, he would have enjoyed all that time. Now, lastly, we have Angelina Peterson. Yes.
Hi, I'm me, and I have a bunch of roles on here to play.
Yes.
Not bread, but not bread rolls. I don't know.
Thank you.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. I was just
Okay,
teasing on me. So, cool. I don't know what bread rolls are, but I'm guessing I don't have the bread rolls either. Oh, I gotcha.
You don't know what they are? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not doing carbs right now. Just cut them out of my brain. But
oh, totally.
I forgot about.
And now you don't have the other roles either, but I do.
I do. I think. We'll see. But lots of roles as well, filling in all the little tiny holes, kind of like Vicky and Angelina, as the others take on the bigger stuff. Oh, and Morgan. I think we're all doing that. Anywho, we're gonna get started. We're gonna get started on the script. It is 6 a.m. Just kidding. That's in the movie. We'll see what it says on the script. But going to share the screen. And Petra, when you're ready and you wanted to take it away, go for it.
Groundhog Day by Danny Rubin. Second revision by Harold Ramis, January 7th, 1992. Fade in, hibernating groundhogs. A family of groundhogs is nestled together in their burrow, sleeping off the end of a long winter. Roll credits and theme music. Dissolve to exterior, a forest clearing, early morning. The crust of an old snowfall still covers the frozen ground, and the bare, icy branches of the trees glisten dully in the early morning light. Cut to interior TV studio, same time. Phil Connors is standing in front of a blank green wall, gesticulating animatedly at some invisible images on the wall, talking a mile a minute, MOS. He looks completely crazy as he points at nothing and winks to an unseen audience. Cut to Western Pennsylvania, same time. Credits continue as we streak across the winter landscape, flying over fields and farms, small towns and hamlets, railroad lines and interstates, coal yards and factories, until we cross the Allegheny and follow it to the southwest. Cut to interior TV studio, same time. Phil continues pointing out features on the blank wall, but from a new angle, we can see that he's looking at a monitor out of the corner of his eye that shows the chroma key insert he's pointing to, a national weather map. Cut to exterior near Pittsburgh, same time. The country towns turn to suburbs, traffic on the roads gets heavier, and finally we see the skyline of Pittsburgh and the confluence of the Allegheny and the Monongahela and the Ohio. We zoom into a tall building in the downtown area and dissolve to interior Phil Connors' office, morning. We don't see anyone at first, but the office itself speaks volumes about its inhabitant. Team pictures of the Steelers from the Franco Harris, Terry Bradshaw glory years, a framed memorial portrait of Roberto Clemente, a local Emmy Award statue, an erasable weather map and mountains of personal junk on the desk, a windowsill, and every other available surface. As the credits end, we notice a sleeping figure on the small sofa, buried deep under a pile of coats and a stolen airline blanket. Gil Hawley, executive producer of the Action News, sticks his head in the door.
Christ, what a tit, Phil.
The sleeping figure rouses himself and looks out at Hawley. It's Phil, the Channel 9 Action News weatherman.
What?
It's February 1st, Phil. You know what tomorrow is?
Phil sits up and thinks hard. He's in his mid-30s, smart, rugged-looking, perhaps a little too full of himself, but clearly a guy with a lot of personality.
Oh no, not again.
He jumps up and exits the office with Hawley right behind him.
Forget it, I'm not going.
Interior corridor continuous. Hawley pursues Phil through the office suite of the Channel 9 Action News. From the look of it, a typical big city local news operation. A logo on the wall identifies the station as WPGH Pittsburgh. Phil ducks into the studio. Interior studio continuous. Hawley follows him and catches up with him at the weather corner of the Action News set. Phil starts putting weather stats up on a chart.
Get away from me, I'm working.
So what's the outlook? We gonna get that blizzard?
Phil shakes his head and points to the chart, which is headed Phil's Forecast, with the cute caricature of himself drawn next to the title.
No way, all that moisture coming up from the Gulf is going to miss us completely and take a dump on Harrisburg.
Good, because you're going up to Punxsutawney to cover the Groundhog story tomorrow morning, and I want you back here in time to do the 5.
Geez, Gil, give me a break, will you? I covered the gosh darn Groundhog last year and the year before that.
And you'll do it next year and the year after too. When I worked in San Diego, I covered the swallows coming back to Capistrano for 10 years in a row.
You should have killed the guy who made you do that.
I wanted to do it.
Then you should have killed yourself. I don't want to get stuck with a groundhog for the rest of my life.
It's a cute story. He comes out, he looks around, he wrinkles up his little nose, he sniffs around a little, he sees a shadow, and he doesn't see a shadow. It's nice. People like it.
Ha! Many people are morons.
Just do it.
What'll you give me?
Hawley looks across the studio and sees Rita Hansen enter, a very attractive segment producer in her late 20s.
I'll give you Rita. Rita, could you come out here for a second? I got a little job for you.
Rita is relatively new to the station, but very competent, personable, humorous, self-assured, and very pretty. In short, a genuine princess, though Phil is too absorbed at this point to realize it yet.
You can't send Rita out on a story like this. She's just a cub, a pup, still wet behind the ears. Look at her. Her ears are sopping wet. This needs a Woodward or a Bernstein. It's a big story. People need to know.
What's the story?
The Puxatawny Groundhog Festival.
Gail, if it's all right with you, I'd rather follow up on the nurses' strike.
Oh, you can do the nurses when you get back. Just take the squeaky wheel here up to Punxsutawney and get him back in one piece, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Holly exits, leaving Phil and Rita alone in the studio. She knows Phil mainly by reputation, and it isn't good. Still, she finds him appealing in an odd way.
You know, this could be extremely interesting.
I've never done a weather story before. What's Punxsutawney like?
Oh, it's an enchanted place, a magical world. It's the Constantinople of the whole Western Appalachian Susquehanna drainage system.
Do you always joke?
About 70 to 80% of the time. Inside, I'm actually a very shy and sensitive person.
A lot of people around here think you're not very sincere.
Tell me the names of these people.
I'll line up a crew and transportation. If you don't feel like driving, we can all go up in the van together.
I think I'll take my own car. I'm not that fond of my fellow man.
Nice attitude.
Nice face. Why don't you ride up with me?
No thanks.
Stephanie DeCastro, an attractive, dark-haired, dark-eyed correspondent, glares at Phil from across the studio. Interior Phil's office later. Phil is in his cluttered cubicle talking on a headset phone while he reviews cassettes of his Groundhog spots from the past 2 years on a small monitor. As he talks, he stuffs a number of personal items into an overnight bag, all the time watching himself on the monitor.
They don't really think of me as a weatherman around here. More of a personality, but with the credibility of a first-class broadcast journalist. Once you look at my tape, I think you'll see what they mean.
Stephanie enters and stands in the doorway, looking at Phil for a long moment. There's something vaguely off-center about this woman. Not quite fatal attraction, but still a little scary.
I just want to know one thing. Did I do something wrong, or are you just tired of me, or what? I have to know.
Phil sighs.
Dan, can I call you back? I've just been handed something and I better get on it. Okay, thanks.
He takes off the headset, gets up, and closes the door for privacy.
Oh, you didn't do anything wrong, Stephanie. And I'm not tired of you. It's just that I don't have time for a real relationship right now. I told you that the first time we were out.
Everybody says that at the beginning of a relationship.
Oh, I'm different. I really meant it. Things are really starting to move for me now. I'm not going to be doing the weather for the rest of my life. I was just talking to the CBS guy about a network job. I want that. This is just the beginning for me. I can't waste any more time.
Are you saying our relationship was a waste of time?
Our relationship? We went out a total of 4 times, and only twice did anything happen. It was fun, but I don't see that as a big commitment.
I had our charts done. My astrologer says we're extremely compatible. There may even be some past lives involvement there.
See? So we've already done this. Let's move on. Next case.
You know what's wrong with you, Phil? You're selfish. You don't have time for anyone but yourself.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't want to be with me. You can do better. Oh, look, Stephanie, if I ever said or did anything to mislead you, I'm sorry for that. But right now I have to do this groundhog thing, and I don't have a handle on it yet.
He throws some papers and his date book into a briefcase and puts on his jacket.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to do some serious thinking while I'm in Punxsutawney, okay?
He pats her on the shoulder and brushes past her, leaving her standing there with a malevolent look on her face. Cut to exterior, a highway, afternoon. A van marked Channel 9 Action News speeds along a two-line highway through the winter landscape of west central Pennsylvania. Mounted atop the van is a microwave transmitter. Rita is riding up front with Larry, the union cameraman and techie. Phil is following close behind the van in a new Lexus coupe. His car has a bumper sticker that read, "Weathermen like it wet."
I'm on my way to Punxsutawney. Punxsutawney, what on? I think that all depends on you.
Interior of the Lexus continuous. Phil is talking to one of his girlfriends, sorting through a stack of CDs as usual, grabbing at the good life with both hands.
I thought you could meet me up there tonight and let me vulgarize you for about 7 hours. So I'm supposed to spend the night in Punxsutawney all alone? Thanks.
Phil loads a CD and a great driving song kicks in. Cut to a sign. "Welcome to Punxsutawney, the original weather capital of the world since 1887. Depicted on the sign is a large cartoon groundhog wearing a top hat and clutching an umbrella under his arm. The mini convoy passes some fast food places on the outskirts of town. Exterior, Main Street, Punxsutawney, later. The van drives along the small town main drag. There are cartoon groundhogs everywhere you look, and the whole town has been gaily festooned with banners and bunting. Exterior, motel, later. The van pulls into the parking lot of a Quality Inn. The announcement billboard in front of the motel reads, "Groundhog Day Breakfast Special, February 2nd. All you can eat, $5.99. The parking area is already crowded with cars, including a number of other news vans. The Lexus pulls in behind the van and everybody gets out. Phil takes one look at the motel and shakes his head.
Rita, I can't stay here.
Rita is already helping Larry unload equipment from the van.
Prima donnas.
It's okay, I'll handle it.
She crosses to the Lexus where Phil is trying to make yet another call on his earphone.
What's the problem, Phil?
I hate this place. I stayed here 2 years ago and it was miserable. It's like a minimum security prison. I'm not staying here.
You're not staying here.
I'm not?
No, Larry and I don't care, but I thought you might, so I booked you a very nice bed and breakfast on Cherry Street. Here's the address.
She
Great.
hands him a card.
That's great. That's the mark of a really good producer, making the talent happy.
Whatever I can do.
Really? Will you be my love slave?
Whatever I can do within reason. Would you like to have dinner with Larry and me?
No, thanks. I've seen Larry eat. Why don't you ditch Larry and let me take you someplace nice?
You mean like a date?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay, I get it. You're a little intimidated by me. You're all excited about the shoot tomorrow. You want everything to go just perfect. I understand. You just get some sleep. Tomorrow will be great.
Well, that's something to look forward to. I'll see you in the morning.
He drives off, leaving her standing there shaking her head.
Did he actually just call himself the talent?
Larry snorts and continues unloading their gear. Cut to exterior Cherry Street dawn. The first light of morning colors the sky behind the Cherry Street Inn, a rambling white Victorian bed and breakfast. Close-up clock. A digital clock radio changes from 5:59 to 6 a.m. The radio comes on, playing the end of the Sonny and Cher hit, "I Got You, Babe." Super February 2nd. Interior Phil's room dawn. Phil sits up in bed and looks around the room. The decor is typical bed and breakfast, flocked wallpaper, framed prints, and an odd assortment of mismatched furniture. His suit is hanging neatly on the back of the closet door, and his suitcase is open on a stand at the foot of the bed, still neatly packed. A radio DJ and his sidekick come on with hyped up drive time chappy talk. Phil stares at the radio and listens to them.
Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties, because it's cold out there today.
Phil grimaces and swings out of bed.
Cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach?
The DJ laughs. Phil shakes his head at the cheesy repartee as he crosses to the sink and starts brushing his teeth.
Not hardly. And you can expect hazardous travel later today with that, blizzard thing.
The blizzard thing?
Phil splashes some water on his face and prepares to shave.
Oh, here's the report. The National Weather Service is calling for a big blizzard thing.
Yes, they are. But there's another reason today is very special.
Especially cold.
Especially cold. Okay. But the big question on everybody's lips.
Chapped lips.
On their chapped lips, right. Do you think Phil's going to come out and see his shadow?
Punxsutawney Phil.
Phil looks up at himself in the mirror, admiring his own face.
That's right, rodent lovers. It's Groundhog Day.
Sound effect of grunting groundhogs. Phil grunts at his reflection in the mirror.
Never again.
Cut to interior corridor dawn. Phil heads for the breakfast room of the inn, now well dressed in a suit and tie, a nice overcoat slung over his arm. A chubby man passes.
Morning.
Morning.
Think it'll be an early spring?
I'm predicting March 21st.
Cut to interior breakfast room continuous. Phil enters the old library of the house, now set up with a breakfast buffet. An old spinet-style piano stands in the corner. One wall is lined with bookcases filled with books. A handful of guests are seated around the room eating. The matron of the house, Mrs. Lancaster, spots Phil as she comes out of the kitchen with a fresh pot of coffee.
Did you sleep well, Mr. Connors?
Like a Romanian orphan, Mrs. Lancaster.
Like some coffee?
I don't suppose it'd be possible to get an espresso or a cappuccino around here?
I don't really know.
Forget it. This'll be fine.
I wonder what the weather's going to be like for all the festivities.
My guess is it'll be cold and overcast, high today in the low 30s, dropping to the low 20s tonight. But I'm predicting that all that moisture coming up from the Gulf is going to miss us and dump some locally heavy snow, possibly blizzard conditions with travel advisories in the Harrisburg area, and maybe as far as east as Philadelphia. You want to talk weather, you asked the right guy.
He heads for the door.
Will you be checking out today, Mr. Connors?
Unfortunately, yes.
Phil exits. Cut to exterior boarding house moments later. Sipping at the steaming coffee, Phil manages to put on his coat and gloves as he descends the front steps of the house and joins the flow of pedestrian traffic on the street. Exterior Main Street, Punxsutawney, continuous. There are a lot of people on the street for this hour. Traffic is so heavy, in fact, that the pedestrians are moving faster than the cars. Everything seems to be going in the same direction, making the annual trek to see the groundhog. An old bum is sitting on the sidewalk leaning against a storefront. Someone throws him a coin. Phil walks by without taking any notice. You want to try that without being muted?
Hey, Phil!
A big pie-faced man, Ned Ryerson, comes huffing and puffing right up to him. There's something about this guy that makes us dislike him on sight.
Phil Connors! I thought that was you!
Phil looks at him vaguely.
I'm sorry, have we,
My oh my, Phil Connors, don't you say you don't remember me, 'cause I sure as heck fire remember you! Well?
Phil is trying to remember.
Ned
Ryerson?
Needle Nose Ned? Ned the Head, come on, buddy, Case Western High!
Ned?
I see you clicking through that brain of yours, click, 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 bling! Ned Ryerson. Did the whistling trick with my belly button in the talent show, bing! Ned Ryerson. Got over the shingles real bad senior year, almost didn't graduate, bing again! Ned Ryerson. Went out with your sister, Mary Pat, a couple of times till you told me not to anymore? Well...
Oh, Ned Ryerson.
Bing!
So, what are you doing with yourself, Ned?
Phil, I sell insurance.
No kidding.
Do you have life insurance, Phil? Because if you do, I bet you could use some more. Who couldn't? But I got a feeling that you don't have any, am I right?
You know, Ned, I'd love to talk to you, but I really have to.
Phil starts to walk away, but Ned won't take the hint.
That's okay, I'll walk with you. When I see an opportunity, I charge it like a bull. Ned the Bull, that's me now. Some of my friends live and die by the actuary tables, but I think that's all just a crapshoot anywho. Ever heard of a single premium life? That could be the ticket for you, buddy. God, it's good to see you. Hey, what are you doing for dinner?
Dinner? I don't think that's going to work for me.
As they continue walking, Phil steps into what looks like a shallow puddle and ends up ankle deep in wet slush. Ned laughs like a donkey.
Hey, look out for that first step. It's a doozy.
Phil looks at him with murderous contempt. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob dawn. A big crowd is standing in a park-like clearing off a residential street. They are gathered around a large mound of dirt enclosed by a rail fence, waiting for the big moment. For a cold gray dawn, there is the atmosphere of a festival here. An area close to the mound is roped off for news reporters and cameras. Rita stands there, a pocket of genuine beauty in the sea of pot-bellied old union guys and blow-dried reporters. Stamping her feet against the cold, Rita looks at her watch and glances around. Larry, the cameraman, just looks bored. Morgan had to step out for a minute, so.
I think you muted yourself instead of unmuted yourself, Vicky. Do you want it, Petra, if she had to step out?
How could he be late?
Prima donnas.
It's just so inconsiderate.
What happens to some people? They're born nice, they grow up nice, you put them on TV and blam, prima donnas.
Rita spots Phil heading into the crowd.
Oh, here he comes. Phil! Hey, Phil, over here!
Phil joins them in the press area. Rita pulls him to his mark near the rail fence.
Where have you been?
Oh, I got hung up with some jerk I went to high school with. So, did you sleep okay without me? You tossed and turned, didn't you?
Rita holds up a slate for Larry to ID the tape.
You're incredible.
Oh, who told you?
Ready when you are.
Phil takes the microphone from Rita and positions himself against the fence. The Groundhog Club officials in top hats, striped trousers, and cutaway coats parade out to the burrow that houses Punxsutawney Phil.
Looks like they're starting. Roll tape.
Rolling.
Rita silently counts down from 5 and cues Phil, who instantly snaps into announcer mode.
Once a year, the eyes of the nation turn here to this tiny hamlet in Pennsylvania to watch a master at work. The master, Punxsutawney Phil, the world's most famous weatherman, a groundhog, who, as legend has it, can predict the coming of an early spring.
Rita turns to Larry. This is impressive. So far, so good. A Groundhog Club official knocks at the burrow and kneels at the burrow and ceremoniously knocks on the small wooden door, then opens it and retreats.
And here's the big moment we've all been waiting for. Let's just see what Mr. Groundhog has to say.
The groundhog sticks its head out, looks around, steps out of the hole, and runs to the other side of the mound, about as far away from the cameras as he can get.
Hey, over here, you little weasel!
Larry zooms in as far as he can, but the best he can manage is a close-up of the groundhog's back. The groundhog stands there a moment, his body casting a long shadow, then lets out a squeak and runs back into his hole.
Great shot, huh, folks? Well, that was certainly worth the trip. Now, we'll be hearing from Mr. Buster Green, president of the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club, the so-called seer of seers who will interpret for us.
Buster Green, dressed up in top hat and cutaway coat, walks onto the mound and hushes the crowd.
He came out, he saw a shadow. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but it looks like it's going to be a long winter.
The crowd lets out a good-natured "aww" in disappointment.
Well, that's it. Sorry you couldn't be here in person to share the electric moment. This is one event where television reality, or really fails to capture the excitement of thousands of people gathered to watch a large squirrel predict the weather. And I, for one, am deeply grateful to have been a part of it. Reporting for Channel 9, this is Phil Connors.
Larry cuts the camera.
You want to try one that's a little sweeter?
That's as sweet as I get. I'm out of here.
As he exits, Phil tosses the mic to Larry, who isn't expecting the throw, and bobbles it, dropping the mic to the ground.
Prima donnas.
Cut to interior diner later. Phil is sitting alone having a cup of coffee in a busy, loud, and lively cafe. Rita enters, sees him sitting there, crosses to his table, and sits down across from him.
That was really lousy.
Is it my fault the little rat went south on us?
A real professional would have handled it. You acted like it was a personal insult. Who do you think you are, Wolf Blitzer?
Gosh, you really take this stuff seriously, don't you?
Yes, I do. As far as I'm concerned, there are no little stories, Phil. Only little reporters with big egos who think they're too good for the job they have to do.
You really don't know me very well, do you? Because if you did, you could never say something like that about me. I care. call me a cockeyed optimist, but I happen to think there's more to this job than getting my ugly mug on the boob tube every night.
Is that so?
Yes, that is so.
Rita is so irritated by him she can't even respond. Phil looks at her evenly for a long moment.
So, as far as us getting together, would you say that the glass is half empty or half full?
Larry pokes his head in the doorway, looks around, spots Rita, and makes his way over to their table.
You ready? We better get going if we're going to stay ahead of the weather.
You don't have to rush off, you know. That storm's going to miss us completely.
Nice working with you, Phil. See you around.
Rita walks away, leaving him sitting alone. Cut to exterior highway day. Phil's Lexus is driving down the highway. Light snow is just starting to fall.
I'll call you after I see the network guy. I should be back there in a couple of hours. What? I can't hear you. You're breaking up. Hello? Sabrina?
Interior of the car continuous. Phil is getting annoyed as the phone connection deteriorates. The snow is getting heavier. Phil switches on the windshield wipers.
Sabrina? Can you hear me? Crap.
He slams the phone back into the cradle, then looks up and notices slow traffic up ahead. He honks his horn as the traffic comes to a complete stop. He keeps honking, but nothing moves. He rolls down the window and looks up ahead. The highway is a parking lot.
No!
Exterior of the car continuous. Phil jumps out and begins to walk down the highway, past the parked cars, shivering in his light sweater and silk sports shirt. The snowfall is getting heavier and the wind is picking up. The snow comes down unnaturally hard and fast. He walks on, slipping and sliding in his expensive loafers until he comes to a police roadblock up ahead, manned by 2 highway patrolmen.
What's going on, officer?
Nothing's going on. We're closing the road. Big's accident up ahead. Blizzard's moving in.
What blizzard? A couple of flakes. An isolated phenomenon of nature.
Are you nuts? We got a major storm moving in.
No. All that moisture is going to miss us and hit Harrisburg.
Pal, you got that moisture on your head.
But I have to get to Pittsburgh today.
Mister, the only place anybody's going on this road is back to Buxtonbury.
Phil glowers at him and shivers. Cut to interior gas station later. Phil is on a payphone. Snow is heavily falling outside. Gas station attendant is shoveling around the pumps.
So all the long distance lines are down? What about the satellite? Is it snowing in space? But I have to call Pittsburgh. Isn't there some special line you keep open for emergencies or for celebrities? Well, I'm both, really. I'm a celebrity and an emergency. Can you patch me through on that line?
The door opens and Phil is blasted with frigid Arctic wind and blowing snow. The gas station attendant enters the tiny office and is trying to squeeze past Phil, accidentally bangs him on the head with his snow shovel. Cut to interior hotel bar evening. Phil is at the bar in the Punxsutawney's oldest and best hotel, the Pennsylvanian. He looks very bored, drinking a beer, unsuccessfully hustling an attractive local girl named Nancy.
You never saw me on TV, on the news.
I don't think so. What part of the news do you do?
I'm the White House correspondent for NBC News.
Oh, I'm so sure.
Ask me anything.
Okay, how big is the White House?
3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Looks much bigger than it is.
Nancy just stares at him, clearly not into his sense of humor. Suddenly, a bride in full white wedding gown and veil rushes into the bar, crying and shouting. A gaggle of bridesmaids flutters around her, trying to coax her back to her own wedding, but she won't budge. Then the groom, wearing a bad rented tux, comes storming in and tries to drag her back until the best man restrains him and the bridesmaids hustle the bride away. Phil watches the whole drama play out, then turns back to Nancy.
Good start. I'm sure they'll be very happy. So, what do you say? You want to play doggy obedience school with me?
Thanks, I'll pass.
She gets up to leave.
Sit! Stay!
He watches her go, then tosses a tip on the bar and exits somewhat unsteadily. Cut to insert a thick book. The cover reads 101 Curses, Spells, and Enchantments You Can Do at Home. A well-manicured feminine hand opens the book to a marked page. Interior Cherry Street Inn, night. Same time. Phil enters the room and drunkenly tosses his overcoat, scarf, and gloves on the floor in a heap. Interior Stephanie's bedroom, night. Stephanie DeCastro, Phil's disaffected ex-lover, is sitting cross-legged on the floor with a book of curses open in front of her. Her hair is down. She's wearing a caftan with the zodiac print. There are candles everywhere and other vaguely occult decorating touches. Insert, Phil's business card is dropped into a dish. Then the tarot card of the Hanged Man, a chicken bone, and a feather are placed on top of it. Phil stands at the sink, looking at himself in the mirror, flexing his muscles. Stephanie, reading from the book. She mutters incantations in a secret language, then sprinkles powder on the plate. A few drops of oil. Then she makes a few passes over it with her hands, and much to her surprise, the contents of the plate spontaneously combust. Phil. As he crosses to the bed, he accidentally knocks over the suitcase stand, spilling his clothes out onto the floor. He contemplates picking them up for a moment, decides to leave them there, and flops down on the bed. He lies there looking up at the ceiling until the room starts to spin around. Then he closes his eyes and quickly drops off to sleep, still fully clothed. Stephanie. To complete the spell, she picks up a broken wristwatch and drops it into the fire. Insert, Phil's business card, the Hanged Man, and the broken watch in flames. The watch crystal is cracked and the hands are frozen at 5:59. Dissolve to close-up clock. The digital clock radio changes from 5:59 to 6 a.m. The radio comes on, playing the end of the Sonny and Cher hit, I Got You Babe, just as it did the day before. Interior, Phil's room, dawn. Phil sits up in bed, quickly alert, and looks around the room. Something is wrong. He's wearing pajamas, his suit is once again hanging neatly on the closet door, and his suitcase is back on the stand at the foot of the bed, again neatly packed. The song ends, and the same radio DJ and his sidekick come on with the same manic energy. Phil stares at the radio and listens to them. A look of astonishment comes over his face as they banter.
Okay, campers, rise and shine. And don't forget your booties, because it's cold out there today.
It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach?
The DJ laughs. Phil mock laughs at exactly the same time, recognizing the repartee from the previous morning.
Nice going, guys. That's yesterday's tape.
Phil crosses to the sink and gets a towel off the rack, only half listening to the radio.
Not hardly. Expect hazardous travel later today with that, blizzard thing.
That blizzard thing?
Phil turns on the water and splashes some on his face as if trying to wake himself up, vaguely disturbed by the repetition of the broadcast.
Oh, here's the report. The National Weather Service is calling for a big blizzard thing.
Yes, they are. But there's another reason today is very special.
Especially cold.
Especially cold. Okay. But the big question on everybody's lips is...
Phil supplies the next line in unison with the radio.
Chapped lips.
On their chapped lips, right. Do you think Phil's going to come out and see his shadow?
Punxsutawney Phil?
Some vague doubt causes Phil to go to the window.
That's right, rodent lovers. It's Groundhog
Day.
Sound effect of grunting groundhogs as Phil pulls back the curtains and looks out. His POV. The street is full of people heading towards Gobbler's Knob, exactly as they did the day before.
What the heck?
Cut to interior bed and breakfast dawn. Phil rushes out into the corridor, hastily tying his tie, suit jacket, and overcoat over his arm. As he heads for the breakfast room, the same chubby man passes.
Morning.
Morning.
Think it'll be an early spring?
Didn't we do this yesterday?
I don't know what you mean.
Phil grabs him by the front of his shirt and looks deep into his eyes.
Don't mess with me, pork chop. What day is this?
February 2nd, Groundhog Day?
Phil can see he's telling the truth and relaxes his grip on the poor man.
Okay, sorry. I'm having a bad day.
Phil walks on, leaving the chubby man baffled and insulted.
I'll say.
Interior breakfast room continuous. Phil enters the old library of the house and finds everything exactly as it was the day before. Mrs. Lancaster spots Phil as she comes out of the kitchen with a fresh pot of coffee.
Did you sleep well, Mr. Connors?
Did I? I don't know.
Would you like some coffee?
Yes, thank you. I'm feeling a little strange.
I wonder what the weather's going to be like for all the festivities.
Did you ever have deja vu, Mrs. Lancaster?
Is that the Italian dessert with the brandy and the chocolate mousse?
No, that's spaghetti. Never mind.
He heads for the door, still in a daze.
Oh, will you be checking out today, Mr. Connors?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'll tell you after I wake up.
Phil exits. Cut to exterior boarding house moments later. Phil gulps down the steaming coffee, still trying to wake up from what he assumes is a dream, and descends the front steps of the house. He accosts a passerby.
Ma'am, excuse me. Where's everybody going?
To Gobbler's Knob. It's Groundhog Day.
The coffee cup drops from Phil's hand as he stands there open-mouthed. Then he slaps his own face and shakes his head as if trying to clear it, and starts off down the street. Main Street, exterior Main Street, Punxsutawney, continuous. Phil rushes down the street, again failing to notice the old bum sitting on the sidewalk leaning against a storefront.
Hey, Phil!
Ned Ryerson approaches with the same obnoxious attitude.
Phil Connors! I thought that was you!
Phil stares at him and keeps walking.
My oh my, Phil Connors, don't say you don't remember me, 'cause I sure as heck fire remember you. Well?
Ned Ryerson?
Bing! First shot right out of the box! So how's it going, old buddy?
To tell you the truth, Nettie, I'm not feeling real well. Could you excuse me?
Now that's funny you should mention your health, 'cause you'll never guess what I do.
Do you sell insurance, Ned?
Bing again! Your sharpest attack today. Do you have life insurance, Phil? 'Cause if you do, I bet you could use some more, couldn't you? But I got a feeling you don't have any. Am I right?
Did I say flip off, Ned? Because I can't talk to you right now.
He backs away from Ned and steps right into the same deep, slushy puddle he stepped in the day before.
Hey, look out for that first step. It's a doozy.
Phil looks down at his wet shoes and cuffs and stumbles off towards Gobbler's Knob. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob dawn. The crowd is gathered as before for the big moment. In the press area, Rita is having the same dialogue with Larry when she spots Phil heading into the crowd.
Here he comes. Phil. Hey, Phil, over here.
Phil waves to her and heads straight for an obscure corner of the knob, gesturing for her to follow. Larry shakes his head as Rita charges through the crowd towards Phil. She catches up to him just as he's scratching a mark on the snow with his foot. She notices immediately that he is uncharacteristically disheveled, tie askew, his hair mussed.
Where have you been?
I've got to talk to you. I think I'm losing my mind.
I know you're losing it. What are you doing over here? The camera's over there.
Slap me, Rita.
What is this?
Just slap me hard.
She gives up and taps him lightly on the cheek.
I said hard!
I can't.
Do it!
Rita shrugs and slaps him very hard.
Better. Almost too hard, Rita.
Are you drunk?
No, drunk is more fun. Can I be serious with you for a minute?
I don't know, can you?
Yes, I'm being serious. I'm having a problem. No, I may be having a problem.
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say that if I was having a problem, just hypothetically, I'd like to know that you're someone I could count on in a crisis.
What did you do last night?
The crowd begins to hush.
We better get started. We're going to miss it.
We're not going to miss it. They're going to miss it.
Phil, we've been out here for an hour. We're cold and tired. Let's just get this and get out of here.
Okay, put it here.
What?
Put the camera here.
Rita takes a forlorn glance towards the press area where all of the other cameras are set up.
Phil, there is no tomorrow on this one. It's Groundhog Day.
We were in the wrong spot yesterday.
What? Yesterday? What are you talking about?
Just trust me. Put the camera here.
Rita looks at him like he's crazy, then looks at her watch and gives up.
Larry.
She charges off towards the cameras. In the press area, several reporters are already talking to their cameras, dribbling on about how he could appear any second now. Rita and Larry grab their gear and rush back to Phil. Larry hurriedly sets up the camera.
You want me to rotate?
Are you going to get on your mark?
No, hurry.
Larry glances over at the other news reporters, all talking to their cameras and pointing towards the mound.
Everyone else is rolling.
Rita looks helplessly at Phil.
I'm begging you, all right? Could we please just do this?
Phil glances down at his watch.
Okay, let's do it.
He crosses over to Larry and taps him on the shoulder.
Rotate.
Prima donnas.
Phil takes the microphone from Rita and positions himself against the fence.
Rolling.
Phil does a similar intro to the one he did before, though this time it's a bit tentative.
Well, it's Groundhog Day again. And you know what that means. Everybody's here on Gobbler's Knob, waiting in the cold for the appearance of the most famous groundhog in the world, Punxsutawney Phil, who's going to tell us just how much more of this we can expect.
The Groundhog Club official knocks on the groundhog's door, then opens it and retreats. Phil takes a deep breath and makes his first experimental prediction, recalling the previous day.
My forecast is we're going to see the groundhog peek its head out of its hole, look around a little bit, and then he's going to come out, scamper over to this general area, look at the crowd for a second, make a little burping noise, and run back into the ground.
That's it. I'm going to kill him.
Phil looks at his watch.
Okay, and here we go.
Phil points to the hole and Larry zooms in. The groundhog sticks his head out, looks left, looks right, steps out of the hole, and runs away from the press pool, directly over to Larry's camera. As he stands there, his body casts a long shadow. The groundhog looks right into the camera, lets out a squeak, and runs back into the hole. Rita and Larry are completely amazed as the crowd cheers the brief appearance of the groundhog. Larry pans back to Phil. He stands there speechless, staring at the groundhog burrow.
Phil!
Buster Green, the Groundhog Club official, walks onto the mound, hushes the crowd exactly as before.
He came out, he saw a shadow. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but it looks like it's going to be a long winter.
Again, the crowd lets out a good-natured "aww" in disappointment. Larry pans back to Phil just in time to see him walking away in a fog without signing off. Then he pans back to Rita.
For Channel 9 News, this is Rita Hansen and Punxsutawney.
She holds for a moment, then makes the cut sign, drawing her fingers across her throat. Cut to interior Phil's room later. Phil is on the phone, desperately trying to make a call.
I know there's a blizzard, but I have to get a call through to my doctor in Pittsburgh. It's a medical emergency. No, don't give me the Punxsutawney Fire Department. When do you think the long distance lines will be working again? But what if we don't have it tomorrow? We didn't have one today. My friend, hello? Hello?
He hangs up and shakes his head, which is now really starting to ache. Then he pops a handful of Tylenol, lies down, and pulls the covers up over his head. A moment later, he sits up, takes a pencil from the nightstand, breaks it in half, and puts the pieces back on the nightstand. Then he lies back down and retreats back under the covers. Cut to close-up clock. The digital clock radio changes from 5:59 to 6 a.m. The radio comes on, playing the end of the Sonny and Cher hit, I Got You, Babe, just as it did the day before. Interior Phil's room dawn. He sits up in bed, fearing the worst, and looks on the nightstand. The pencil is whole again. Completely stunned by the phenomenon, he jumps out of bed and starts dressing hurriedly as the morning DJs begin their now familiar rap.
Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties, because it's cold out there today.
It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach?
Phil rushes out of the room. Cut to exterior Cherry Street later. Phil hurries towards the bed and breakfast, carrying 2 gallon buckets of paint and a couple. Where's that coming from?
Continue.
Okay, and a couple of big bags from a hardware store. Interior bed and breakfast continuous. Phil enters and passes Mrs. Lancaster in the breakfast room.
Painting something, Mr. Connors?
I'm conducting an experiment.
Interior Phil's room later. Phil enters and dumps the bags on the bed. Out fall a couple of big paintbrushes, a small sledgehammer, a handsaw, a crowbar, plastic goggles, and assorted other tools. He puts on the goggles, grabs a hammer and some nails, and starts nailing the door shut. Cut to exterior corridor later. Mrs. Lancaster and several other guests are gathered in the hall outside Phil's room, listening at the door and looking very worried. Loud music is playing inside the room. From inside the room, they hear the sound of loud hammering, wood splintering, and glass breaking. Interior Phil's room continuous. Phil has demolished just about all of the furniture and woodwork in the room. He rips off the last of the wooden moldings with the crowbar, then crosses to the mirror over the demolished sink. He stands there, staring at his image in the mirror, trying to figure out what's happening to him. He starts breathing heavier, as if gathering courage. Then, just as we think he's going to cut off his ear or something, he raises an electric barber clipper and shaves a bald stripe down the middle of his head. He studies his new look for a moment, then smashes the mirror with the sledgehammer. Then he opens the cans of paint, dips the 2 big brushes into the cans, and starts slapping bright red paint onto the walls, madly, feverishly, splashing himself and everything else in the room with it. As a final touch, he grabs the bed pillows, rips them open, then shakes them all around the room, creating a storm of feathers. Finally, Phil falls exhausted on the bed. From outside, we can hear outraged hotel employees pounding on the door. We pan over to the clock radio, the only undamaged object in the room. Feathers drift down past the face of the clock, which reads 5:59 a.m. The time changes to 6 o'clock. The radio clicks on, and I Got You, Babe starts playing as we pan back to Phil sleeping on the bed. He opens his eyes, jumps out of bed, and looks around. No paint, no feathers, no damage. Everything is as clean and tidy as the day he checked in. He races to the unbroken mirror and looks at himself. His hair is completely restored, as if it had never been shaved. The song ends and the DJs come on. Phil says every word right along with them, shocked into a state of complete wonderment.
Okay, campers, rise and shine.
And don't forget
your booties, because it's
cold out there today.
It's cold out there every day. What is this?
What is this? Miami Beach?
The DJ laughs. Phil laughs insanely along with him. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob, early morning. Phil is wrapping up yet another Groundhog report, trying to be completely professional despite the circumstances.
So, according to Mr. Groundhog, I guess we can expect 6 more weeks of winter. It's not very scientific, but it sure is fun. Hey, wait a second. If he's right, I could be out of a job. For Channel 9 News, this is Phil Connors in Puxatawny.
He holds until Larry stops tape, then approaches Rita.
How was that?
It was good. A little smarmy for my taste, but I guess that's what sells.
Could I talk to you about a matter that is not work-related?
You never talk about work.
Do you know what I did last night?
Do I want to know?
I destroyed my hotel room.
You what? This is not some kind of rock and roll tour. We don't have the budget for that.
No, it's okay. This morning, it was all right again. That's what I have to talk to you about.
Phil, what are you doing?
Cut to exterior Main Street a bit later. Rita and Phil cross the street and walk past a crowd of concerned citizens gathered around what looks like a car accident. As an ambulance arrives, Phil and Rita enter the cozy-looking diner on the corner. Interior diner continuous. Phil and Rita sit together at the same table they had previously. The waiter approaches.
I'll be
Can I
back.
have some coffee, please?
The waiter pours her a cup.
I'll be back to take your order.
Thanks. Okay, so tell me, how do you know where to put the camera?
Because I've done it before.
I know, but the Groundhog doesn't do exactly the same thing every year, does he?
I'm not talking about last year. I'm talking about today. I've lived it before.
You're having deja vu?
Big time. Rita, I know it's nuts, but I keep reliving the same day over and over. Groundhog Day. Today. This is the 3rd time.
Uh-huh. I'm waiting for the punchline.
No, really. It's like today never happened. I shaved my head last night. Today it's all grown back. I could probably cut off my limbs one by one and pop. They'd grow back, just like a starfish. I probably don't even have to floss.
I'm racking my brain, but I can't even begin to imagine why you'd make up something like this.
Because I'm not making it up. I'm asking for your help.
Rita looks at him for a long moment.
Okay, I'll bite. What do you want me to do?
The truth? I'd like you to spend the next 24 hours with me and don't leave my side for a second.
I see. You know, Phil, you can charm all the little PAs at the station, all the secretaries, and even some of the weekend anchors, but not me. Not in 1,000 years.
Wait a second.
Not if I was dying and your breath was the only cure. Not if having your child was the only way to preserve the human race. Just get it out of your head because it's not going to happen.
So much for the truth.
Unmuted.
You're muted, Petra.
Funny ears.
My apologies. Larry pokes his head in the doorway, looks around, spots Rita, and makes his way over to their table.
You ready? We better get going if we're going to stay ahead of the weather.
Yeah, I'm ready, Larry. Good luck, Phil.
Insert X-rays of Phil's head slapped up onto a light box. Interior medical clinic day. Phil is having his head examined by a neurologist.
No spots, no tumors, no lesions, no clots, no aneurysms. Everything looks fine and dandy to me, Mr. Connors. Have you considered psychiatric help?
Interior psychologist's office day. Punxsutawney's only psychologist is a marriage and family counselor at the local Lutheran church. His appearance and manner indicate that he may have some very serious problems of his own.
That's kind of unusual problem, Mr. Connors. Most of my work is with the couples and families.
Phil is lying on a couch. His head is completely shaved.
Yeah, but you're still a psychologist. You must have had some course in school that covered this kind of thing.
Sort of, I guess. Abnormal psychology.
So based on that, what would you say?
Oh, I'd say that maybe you're I don't know, a little delusional.
You're saying that this thing is not really happening to me?
Uh-huh.
Then how do I know that this conversation is really happening?
I guess you don't.
Then forget about me paying you.
A discreet little alarm sounds.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have, Mr. Connors.
Wait, are you saying I'm crazy?
Not necessarily. If it concerns you, we should schedule our next session as soon as possible. How's tomorrow for you?
Phil glowers at him. Cut to insert a model of the solar system. A scientist in a white lab coat is holding up the model. Phil looks on with interest.
Now, if the moon exerts a gravitational pull strong enough to cause the tides, then it may be theoretically possible for a black hole or a singularity of sufficient magnitude to actually bend time enough to cause it to pull back in on itself.
Do you think that's a realistic possibility?
A paper airplane sails past his head, accompanied by a noisy outburst of juvenile laughter. We pull back to reveal interior classroom day. 25 eighth graders running amok.
All right. I think someone may just need a little visit to the assistant principal's office. Get back in your seats. The bell has not rung yet.
The kids sit back down to keep up their noisy chatter.
Well, I'm speaking purely hypothetically.
Interior school corridor later. Phil is walking towards the exit when he passes a first grade classroom. The door is open and the teacher is discussing a story with the class.
So the princess picked up the frog and kissed him.
Phil stops outside the door to listen. Interior classroom continuous.
Now, who can tell me what happened when the princess kissed the frog? Her lips got slimed.
The whole class erupts in giggles and shrieks.
Oh, come on now. What happened when she kissed the frog?
One of my fingers. The princess kissed the frog and the spell got broke, and he turned into a handsome prince, and they got married and lived happily ever after.
That's right.
Interior the corridor, same time. Phil is leaning against the wall listening. There's something very arresting about the fairy tale, but finally he just shakes his head and exits. Cut to interior Dewdrop Inn later that night. Phil is at the bar getting drunk with two local blue-collar workers, Gus and Phil.
Gus, what would you do if there was no tomorrow?
You mean like if the world was gonna end?
No, I mean if it was never going to end. If every day was the same and you were stuck here and you couldn't get out and nothing you did mattered.
Oh, you're right. Every day is the same. I can't get out of here. Nothing I do matters. What do you think, Ralph? No, Angelina, Ralph, you don't think anything about that question?
Oh no, he's asking you a question, you idiot.
What's the question?
What if nothing mattered? Jeez, I know what I do. I just spend all my time driving fast, getting loaded and getting laid. That's it.
That's it. It just doesn't get any better than this, does it? Good friends, good conversation, and quality brew. Drink up, boys.
They salute each other and drink. Cut to exterior the street later. Gus, Phil, and Ralph approach Phil's big black old Buick convertible parked outside the bar. They are even drunker than they were before.
What are you saying, Phil? We'll drop you off.
Hey, friends don't let friends drive drunk. Give me your keys.
He's as wasted as they are, but Ralph hands over his keys without a fight.
Thanks, man.
It's nothing. Get in.
They all pile into the front seat with Phil at the wheel.
Seatbelts!
Ralph and Gus give him their thumbs up sign and start digging around in the seat cracks for their seatbelts. Suddenly, Phil floors the accelerator and peels away, sideswiping a parked car as he screeches around the corner. Interior, the Buick continuous. Phil is having a great time. Gus and Ralph are whooping it up like kids on a roller coaster.
This is great, Ralph.
Oh, hey, take a left.
Phil passes the intersection.
I missed it.
No problem.
Exterior, Main Street continuous. Phil throws the car into a high-speed hitting U-turn, goes up on the curb, across a couple of lawns, takes out a mailbox and a stop sign, and bounces back onto the street. A police car parked in front of the hardware store pulls out and takes off after him. Interior, the Buick continuous. Phil swerves in and out of oncoming traffic. Gus is starting to look a little green.
Oh, so many rules.
You can say that again.
Don't do this.
Exterior, the street continuous. The Buick demolishes a parked car.
Don't do that.
He mows down a row of parking meters. Police car. It comes screaming around a corner in hot pursuit of the Buick. Interior, the Buick continuous. Ralph hears the siren and looks back at the police car. Pretty sure that's supposed to be Ralph.
All right, try and stop us, you mothers.
No more rules.
No more rules.
Exterior, the street continuous. A second police car joins the chase.
That's two.
Having a good time?
Having a great time.
Phil speeds up to 100 miles an hour. Gus is looking even worse from the liquor and the constant motion of the car.
Hey,
Fail.
yeah, Phil. I like the Groundhog.
Right.
Hey, Phil, how are we going to get out of this?
Their POV is the intersection ahead. Two police cars with lights flashing are parked sideways, completely blocking the road. Officers stand in the roadway, motioning for Phil to stop.
Gus, you're just going to have to trust me on this one.
He tromps the gas pedal to the floor. Gus's eyes go wide with terror. The police dive out of the way.
Yahoo!
Their POV through the windshield, the Buick crashes head-on into one of the police cars. Blackout. Close-up clock. The time changes from 5:59 to 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. The radio starts playing "I Got You, Babe." Phil sits up suddenly and looks around, completely amazed. He's in his room at the bed and breakfast, everything exactly the same as before. He hops out of bed and quickly examines himself for signs of physical injury. Nothing. The music ends and the two DJs come on.
Okay, campers, rise and shine. And don't forget your booties, because it's cold out there today.
Phil talks out loud with them.
It's cold out there every day. What is this? Miami Beach?
Miami Beach.
The DJs laugh. Phil laughs too, exhilarated at having survived the car wreck. Still very confused and perplexed, but just beginning to see the possibilities of his unique situation. He starts dressing in a hurry. Cut to interior breakfast room continuous. Phil rushes into the breakfast room just as Mrs. Lancaster comes out of the kitchen with the coffee. Everything is exactly the same as before.
Would you?
Phil interrupts, answering all her questions before she can even ask.
Yes, I would like some coffee, and the weather is going to be cold and overcast with blizzard conditions moving in later today. And yes, I will be staying an extra day.
Why, thank you.
Mrs. Lancaster, has anyone been around here looking for me this morning? Maybe a state official, blue coat, hat, gun, nightstick badge, driving a late model Ford, brown Chevy, black and white with bubble lights on top?
No, no one like that. I don't. Will they be?
Apparently not.
Phil gooses her, grabs the sweet roll, and heads for the door, starting to believe now he can truly do anything he wants to. Cut to exterior boarding house dawn. Phil stops on the steps, puts on his coat and gloves, and again joins the traffic heading towards Gobbler's Knob. Exterior Main Street moments later. Phil passes the old bum, ignoring him as usual.
Hey, Phil!
Phil slips off his glove as Ned Ryerson lumbers towards him.
Phil? Phil Connors?
Ned Ryerson, Ned the Head.
Before Ned can say another word, Phil slugs him. Ned goes down. Phil puts his glove back on and keeps walking. Phil deftly avoids the slushy pothole he stepped in before. A pedestrian behind him steps right into it. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob later. Phil is passing through the crowd on his way to the press area when he notices Nancy, the girl he met at the hotel bar, and stops to talk to her.
Hi, you here to see the groundhog?
She gives him a look. It's obvious she's never seen him before.
Can you think of another reason anybody be out here at dawn on a freezing day?
What's your name?
Nancy Taylor, and you are...
Where'd you go to high school?
What is this?
High school?
She doesn't really know what to make of Phil, but decides to play along.
Lincoln High School in Pittsburgh. Who are you?
Oh, who was your 12th grade English teacher?
Are you kidding?
I'm waiting.
Mrs. Walsh.
Oh, Walsh. Nancy, Lincoln, Walsh.
Is this some kind of come on?
I'm not really sure. We'll have to see.
Phil walks off and joins Rita at their camera position. Cut to interior diner later that morning. Phil is sitting at his usual table, which is covered in an incredible variety of rich foods. Eggs, bacon, sausage, pancakes, pies, cakes, eclairs, ice cream, puddings, etc. Rita sits across from him, watching in amazement as he stuffs himself with pastry.
Is this some new fad diet? Don't you worry about cholesterol?
Phil scrapes the plate and takes a final bite of a chocolate eclair.
I don't worry about anything anymore.
What makes you so special? Everybody worries about something.
That's exactly what makes me so special.
He takes a large bite of cake. Rita shakes her head.
What?
The wretch concentered all in self, living shall forfeit fair renown, and doubtly dying shall go down to vile dust from whence he sprung, unwept, unhonored, and unsung. Sir Walter Scott.
There once was a young man from Nantucket.
It's really funny. Where are you going to grow up, Phil?
At this rate, never. Okay if I smoke?
Rita shrugs. Phil lights up a cigarette.
You really do have a death wish, don't you?
Just the opposite, Rita. I have a life wish. I'm just trying to enjoy it, taking pleasure in the little things. Don't you ever just want to cut loose and go wild?
I wouldn't even know what it means to go wild.
Yeah, well, that's where I come in. Going wild is one of my specialties. Last night, I got completely loaded and drove head on into a police car.
Oh, really? You look pretty good this morning.
That's my point. I know you won't believe me, but we could do anything we want today and it wouldn't matter one bit. Absolutely no consequences. Complete and total freedom.
And how do we manage that?
You leave that to me. Why don't you send Larry back and hang out with me for the rest of the day? You never make it through that blizzard anyway.
Larry enters the diner and spots them.
I'll take my chances with the weather, but you have a good time.
Don't worry, I plan to.
Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob next morning. Phil comes through the crowd and finds Nancy in the same spot she was the day before.
Nancy?
Nancy turns and looks at him quizzically.
Nancy, right?
I'm sorry,
Nancy Taylor? Lincoln High? I sat next to you in Mrs. Walsh's English class.
That
Phil Connors.
is amazing.
You don't remember me, do you?
I don't. Sure, I think,
We used to shoot spitballs.
yeah. Oh, God.
I even asked you to the prom.
Phil Connors.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm great. Wow, you look terrific. Hey, listen, I gotta do this report.
You're a reporter?
Weatherman, Channel 9, Pittsburgh.
Right, I should have known.
But maybe after we could.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Phil,
Rita is calling from across the crowd. She looks at him with disapproval. Cut to interior Phil's room night. Phil is making passionate love to a woman in the dark.
Oh, Phil.
Oh, Rita.
The woman suddenly freezes. There is a moment of silence, then she snaps on the light. It's Nancy, not Rita. Phil is as surprised as she is by a slip of the tongue.
Who's Rita?
No one. It's just something I say when I make love, you know, oh Rita, oh Rita. It's like, oh baby, or something.
Oh.
Oh Rita.
Nancy laughs uncertainly. Phil switches off the light, now thinking about Rita. Cut to interior breakfast room morning. Some elderly guests are sipping coffee and eating breakfast, staring uncomfortably at something at the other side of the room. Their POV. Phil is standing at the bookcase wearing only pajamas, absently munching on a Danish as he reads from one of the books. Mrs. Lancaster approaches him.
Mrs. Lancaster's not here at the moment, so Petra.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Isn't it a wonderful collection?
Yes, it is. You don't usually find this many trashy novels in one place.
You can take a book up to your room if you like.
No, thank you. I've actually read them all. I was just rereading some of the dirty parts.
He finishes and puts the book back on the shelf. How long will you be staying with us, Mr. Connors?
Indefinitely. I've already been here for 211 days.
Really, that's quite a long time, isn't it? I do hope you're finding things to do in our little town.
Yes, well, I'm getting a little tired of casual sex, so today I thought I'd rob a bank and buy myself a really expensive car.
Phil kisses her on the lips and walks off. Cut to Penn Bank and Trust Day. Two harmless-looking old guards are calmly loading bags of cash into an armored car parked in front of the local bank. Suddenly, Phil appears, wielding a shotgun, wearing a Batman-style cape, face completely hidden by a ski mask.
All right, freeze! Drop your guns, Jay!
The guards stand there, frozen in terror.
You guys ever been held up before?
They shake their heads.
It's kind of exciting, isn't it?
I guess so. Something to tell the kids about.
Yeah, by the way, I'm Phil.
He raises the mask and shows his face.
Herman.
Felix.
Herman and Felix. Okay. Take it easy, boys, and thanks.
The frightened guards watch as Phil makes off with two large satchels of cash. Cut to interior used car dealership day. Phil pats the hood of a used BMW 850 sports car as a salesman stands by beaming. Phil is wearing a full Steelers football uniform complete with shoulder pads.
A real beauty, huh? We picked it up at a...
I'll take it. How much?
Well, the sticker says $62,999, but if you want...
I'll tell you what. I'll give you $70,000 if you just knock off the car salesman stuff and let me get out of here with my car.
The salesman gawks as Phil opens his briefcase and starts counting out stacks of bills. Cut to exterior Punxsutawney Day. From a high angle, we see the BMW tearing around the streets of the town as if running a Grand Prix road race. Cut to exterior Main Street Day. The BMW comes screeching to a stop right in front of the movie theater and the door opens. A pair of really elaborate cowboy boots, complete with silver spurs, hit the pavement first. Then we pan up to see Phil emerge from the car wearing a really gaudy, full cowboy outfit with real six guns on his hips. A very trashy-looking girl, Lorraine, gets out of the passenger side, dressed like a French maid.
I thought we were going to a costume party.
Yeah, we are. But first, I have this movie theater fantasy I want to talk to you about.
He escorts her into the theater. Cut to interior tattoo parlor another day. Phil is lying on the table getting elaborately tattooed. Rita walks by, looks in the window, and is shocked to see Phil there. Phil waves at her and points to the colorful new tattoo pierced by a bloody dagger being tattooed on his arm. Cut to interior biker bar night. We pan down the line of rough trade patrons to Phil, dressed all in black leather, both arms heavily tattooed, looking like Sid Vicious on crack. He takes off his hat to reveal red, white, and blue hair shaved almost down to his skull. A slut named Angie and another overweight, not very pretty Madonna wannabe, both in too tight jeans and bullet bras, are coming over to him, practically licking his ears. Angie pops a couple of mystery pills into his mouth. Phil washes them down with a shot and a beer. Cut to interior Phil's room night. It looks like outtakes from Fellini's Satyricon. Heavy metal is blaring from the radio as several unsavory-looking men and women are partying down, a few already passed out, sleeping off whatever hit them. Someone is knocking loudly on the door, shouting complaints about the music. A beer bottle smashes against the door. Phil is sitting up on the bed with Angie. He has his arm around her shoulder and a fifth of wild turkey in his hand.
Yeah, but eventually you'd get tired of screwing around and then you'd want a real relationship, wouldn't you?
I don't know. A big German shepherd tries to get up on the bed with them.
Get down, Bruno. Someone decent, someone who you respected, who respected you.
I guess so. The dog jumps up again.
Down, Bruno. It's tough to find a relationship like that, especially if your time is kind of limited. But you still have to try, don't you?
The dog tries to get... Oh, sorry.
Bruno, I told you, off the bed.
Phil looks over at Angie, who is passed out with her mouth open.
There's gotta be more to it than this.
Cut to exterior, a side street next morning. Rita is in the news van reviewing the tape of Phil's report. Phil hovers at the open side door.
You look good. I mean, it came out all right. How do you know where to put the camera?
Psychic. So did you have a nice evening?
I just had a sandwich, watched some TV, and went to bed.
I got my whole body tattooed and partied all night with some nymphomaniac biker chicks.
Sounds awesome. Wholesome. Were those the new 24-hour disappearing tattoos, or can I see them?
No, they're gone. Rita, if you only had one day to live, what would you do with it?
She switches off the videotape and steps out of the van.
I don't know, Phil. What are you dying of?
No, I mean, like, what if the entire world was about to explode?
I just want to know where to put the camera. What are you looking for, Phil? A date or the weekend? Date for the weekend.
She starts walking towards the center of town. Phil sticks right with her.
No, I just want to know you better. What do you like? What do you want? What do you think about? What kind of men are you interested in? What do you do for fun?
Is this real, or are you just going to make me feel like a fool?
I'm just trying to talk to you like a normal person. Isn't this how normal people talk?
Close.
Okay, so talk to me. Come on, I'll buy you a cup of coffee.
And this is intermission time. Woo! So yes, summer is different from the movie so far, and we'll talk about that later, and we'll continue this great story. But first, we'll be back. I guess on the 35. Got a question? Something, Petra? You want to say?
No, I was asking if we were doing 5, but yeah, 35 is
I say 5 minutes, but I always just put it on the 5. It's just easier, I
totally.
think. So, see you guys at 35. And this Table Read Tuesday is brought to you by Punxsutawney BMW. Are you eating a carrot? Just with the bunny ears. What's up, Doc? Oh, Mulder. So adorable.
I noticed that too.
So in character. All right. It seems like Angelina is out at the moment, so she might be trying to, change things up during the intermission. She might be back soon, but until then, Petra, if you can take over that stuff again, like before. All right, okay. So. Welcome to Table Read Tuesdays, and tonight we're reading Groundhog Day. All right, time to come back from our intermission and continue. So, whenever Bugs Bunny is ready, we'll continue.
I'm ready. Okay. Cut to interior diner a little later. Phil and Rita are at their usual table drinking coffee.
I guess I want what everyone wants, career, love, marriage, children. So far, I don't have any of it.
You have a career.
I have a job. Doing stories on Punxsutawney Groundhog is not my ultimate goal. No offense.
How about the other stuff? You seeing anybody?
This is getting too personal. I don't think I'm ready to discuss these things with you. What about you? What do you want?
What I really want is someone like you.
Oh, please.
Why not?
Phil, you know you have so much talent and ability. If you just drop the attitude and act like a decent human being, then maybe
You'd what?
I don't know what.
Then maybe you'd like me?
She stares hard at him.
I don't know. It's sort of like the way I feel about UFOs. I'd have to see it to believe it.
Larry pokes his head in the doorway, looks around, spots Rita, and makes his way over to their table.
You ready? We better get going if we're going to stay ahead of the weather.
Larry scowls at Phil. Oh, sorry. That's more inside.
Yeah, I'll be right out, Larry.
Larry scowls at Phil and exits.
Why don't you stay for a while? The road's going to be closed anyway. Do you really want to be stuck in the van with Larry for 3 hours?
I've got to get back. I'll see you later.
Phil watches Rita exit. Phil's POV. Rita gets in the news van and drives off with Larry. Phil stares out the window, more determined than ever to win her over. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob another day. Phil is wrapping up his Groundhog report.
Well, you heard it right from the groundhog's mouth. Bundle up good, because it's going to be a long winter, at least in Punxsutawney. Reporting for Channel 9, this is Phil Connors.
Larry stops the tape.
That was great. How did you know that?
I have to go now. There's something I have to do.
Phil runs off without another word of explanation. Cut to exterior the news van later. Phil has the hood open and is doing something to the engine. Cut to the interior the Berghoff restaurant later. Rita is sitting at the bar in the town's best restaurant, a good chop house with Black Forest decor and waitresses dressed in dirndl skirts and aprons. Phil enters and sits down next to her.
Oh, hi, Rita. You still here?
The van won't start. Larry's working on it.
Wouldn't you know it? Buy you a drink?
Okay.
Jack Daniels.
For you, miss.
Tequila with lime. Gold if you've got it.
Phil nods to himself. Cut to same scene another day. Phil walks in and sits next to Rita.
Oh, hi, Rita. You still here?
Van won't start. Larry's working on it.
Wouldn't you know it? Buy you a drink?
Okay.
Tequila with lime. Gold if you've got it.
Rita looks at Phil, surprised.
And for you, miss?
Same for me, please.
The bartender pours.
What should we toast to?
Your call.
To the groundhog.
Rita stares for a moment.
I always drink to world peace.
Cut to same scene another day.
Take your order.
Tequila with lime. Gold if you've got it.
Rita looks at Phil.
For you, miss?
Same for me, please.
The bartender pours. Phil lifts his glass.
To world peace.
Rita smiles, reevaluating him.
To world peace.
They clink glasses. Cut to interior the bar later. Rita and Phil are now sitting together at a table, a plate of cheese and crackers and a bottle of white wine between them.
You like your job?
It's okay. I think it could be really challenging. Of course, it's about 1,000,000 miles from where I started out in college.
Oh, you weren't in broadcasting?
At Bryn Mawr? No, believe it or not, I studied 19th century French poetry.
Huh. Really? What a waste of time.
Rita looks offended. Phil knows he's made a mistake. Cut to same scene another day.
You weren't in broadcasting?
Bryn Mawr? No. Believe it or not, I studied 19th century French poetry.
Phil leans in closer to her.
La fille qui j'aimerais sera con bon vin qui si bonne fiera, bon pied chaque matin.
Rita smiles, entranced. Cut to interior fudge shop day. Rita and Phil are sitting at a table in a small confectionery, tasting chunks of different flavored fudge. Rita takes a bite.
This is terrific.
Best fudge in town.
How do you know so much about Punxsutawney?
Oh, I like small towns. I think they engender real community more than big cities.
That's so true. I've always thought that too.
No kidding. Here, try the white chocolate.
Oh, yuck. Don't make me sick.
No white chocolate.
There's something so familiar about this. Do you ever have deja vu?
Phil smiles, then Larry enters.
I don't believe it. Someone bought every distributor cap in this town. We're going to have to be stuck here all night.
Over Phil's sympathetic look, we hear the song I Can't Get Started With You. Cut to the interior of the Berghoff restaurant night. The music continues over Rita and Phil on the small dance floor. They dance close, dreamy, romantic. Cut to exterior Main Street later that night. There's a light snow falling. Rita and Phil are making a little snowman. Somehow the town looks magical tonight, old-fashioned and wholesome. A snowball hits Phil in the back. He and Rita turn around to see a giggling kid. Phil packs a snowball and tosses it. The kid throws one back. Rita and Phil both get into it, packing snowballs and getting into a war with this kid and his little gang of friends. A snowball catches Rita unaware. She slips and goes down in a snowbank. Phil bends down to help her and slips. They are now together, lying in the snow, laughing. Their eyes lock for a long, sweet moment. Then Rita gets embarrassed and stands up. Cut to exterior Cherry Street Inn night. Phil and Rita are walking slowly, very close.
What?
I'm just amazed. And I'm not easily amazed.
About what?
How can you start a day with one kind of expectation and end up so completely different?
Oh, do you like how this day is turning out?
Yes, I like it very much.
They stop in front of Phil's hotel. She turns to him.
You could have never planned a day like this, but it couldn't have been more perfect.
Oh, you're wrong. I've been planning this day for weeks.
Rita ignores the remark and hugs him. Phil tries to kiss her, but she gently puts her fingers to his lips, stopping him. They enter the bed and breakfast inn. Interior vestibule continuous. Rita hugs him again and starts to exit.
Thanks. See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Wait. Aren't you going to come up to my room for a while?
I don't know, Phil.
No reason to end a perfect day.
Well, we better not.
No, you should. The poetry. I've got some books. Rimbaud, Baudelaire. We could light a fire.
Thanks, but...
Please come, Rita. It'll be...
Phil, I'm tired. We can be together tomorrow.
But there is no tomorrow for me.
Let's not ruin it, Phil. There's no way I'm sleeping with you tonight.
Why not? Rita, I love you.
You don't even know me.
Please, you have to.
Rita shakes loose from his grasp.
What's wrong with you?
There's a long moment of silent tension, then all her old doubts about Phil come rushing back.
No, I can't believe I just fell for it. This whole day was just one long setup. And I hate fudge. Ugh, I hate fudge.
No, it was real. I love you.
Stop saying that. Do you really expect me to trust you? The whole secretarial pool is a Phil Connors recovery group.
But I can change. I really can.
Rita slaps him hard on the cheek.
That's for making me care about you.
She turns and stomps off, leaving Phil standing there hurting. Cut to exterior Main Street, another night. The snowball fight with the kids is going on as before. Phil falls into the snowbank with Rita, and they almost kiss. Cut to interior Quality Inn motel later. Phil is trying to talk his way into Rita's room. She pushes him away and slams the door in his face. Cut to exterior motel night. The streets are deserted except for Phil staring up at Rita's window in the Quality Inn. She comes to her window and looks out. She sees Phil looking up at her and draws the curtains. Cut to interior Phil's room dawn. I Got You, Babe is playing. Phil hits the clock radio to turn it off. He lies there for a moment, then hefts himself heavily out of bed, not eager to repeat the day yet another time. With the radio off, Phil does the DJ's morning routine himself, seemingly for the millionth time.
Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties because it's cold out there today.
Phil continues the radio report at his own pace, obviously fatigued.
It's cold out there every day. What is this? Miami Beach? Not hardly. And you can expect hazardous travel later today with that, blizzard thing.
Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob dawn. Phil is walking through the crowd. He spots Nancy, walks up to her, and greets her half-heartedly.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, do I know you?
Phil can't manage enough enthusiasm to pursue her yet again.
No, I guess not. I thought you were someone else.
Phil wanders over to where Rita and Larry are setting up the camera. Rita comes over to him.
Are you all right, Phil? You look terrible.
Phil looks at her sadly, then turns away.
I'm fine.
Cut to interior biker bar night. The balls crack as the cue ball breaks the rack. Phil is walking around the table, cue in hand, sinking ball after ball, while several admiring hustlers look on.
Hey, who is this guy?
Oh no. Hey, mister.
Phil doesn't stop shooting.
Who are you anyway?
Phil shoots. Sinks the tough one.
You don't know me? I've been playing here every day for 2 months.
Oh, yeah? So how come I ain't seen you?
I don't know. I seen you.
What's your name?
They call me Puxatony Phil.
Tony Phil, like the groundhog.
Yeah, like the groundhog.
Phil sinks another one. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob dawn. The crowd is waiting expectantly for the groundhog to appear. Phil is a wreck, squatting unprofessionally in front of the camera.
This is the most pitiful spectacles known to civilization. With one nod from a filthy rodent best known to pest control agencies, a moribund of old coal mining hamlet turns magically into the lords of Pennsylvania. Mecca to thousands of people who, if they hated the winter so damned much, why don't they move to Florida anyway?
Larry and Rita look on, incredulous. Cut to close-up TV set. The program Jeopardy is playing.
Nobel Prize winning discovers of the DNA molecule.
Who are Watson and Crick?
Who are Watson and Crick?
Correct.
There's a cheering from a small group of people off screen. Interior parlor continuous. Phil is sitting in his bathrobe in a large lounge chair in the parlor of his hotel. Mrs. Lancaster and other guests watch his performance, awed by his intellect.
Twin brother and sister Sebastian and Olivia create confusion in this Shakespearean comedy.
What is 12th Night?
What is 12th Night?
Correct.
More cheering from the small group.
I'll take New Jersey for 800, Alex.
And the answer is an audio daily double.
Count Basie.
Cut to exterior street day. Phil is walking through town, still dressed only in his pajamas and overcoat, counting the sidewalk cracks, taking giant steps from one to the next. He looks crazy.
2,671, 2,672, 2,673.
A woman passes walking her dog.
Hey, pick up after your dog.
He hasn't done anything.
He's going to. There and there and there.
Phil continues walking, counting the sidewalk cracks. 3 neighborhood kids notice Phil and walk along, matching him step for step.
2,674, 2,675, 2,000.
5,800,000.
600.
9, 24, 650,
2,400.
2,
8, 9, 640.
Phil stops. He has lost count. His lips curl up like an animal as he slowly turns, growling at the kids. They run away, screaming with glee. Phil starts after them, but runs right into a cop.
You got a problem, buddy?
Yeah, I got a problem, buddy. I can't stand this place anymore. I can't stand this street, and I can't stand the 14 bars and the 5 banks and the 1-star food and the bad weather and the quaint little shops, and most of all, I can't stand anything with a groundhog on it.
He rips the groundhog patch off the cop's jacket sleeve.
Okay, then let's see if we can do something about getting you out of here. You got a name?
Phil.
Phil? Like the groundhog?
Phil turns to the cop like a rabid dog ready to strike.
Yeah, like the...
He stops as if struck. Some big new idea has formed in his mind. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob early morning. Rita is looking at Phil as Larry videotapes his report.
This guy's nuts. He's out of his gourd. What do you think about that, Rita?
Let him finish. Then I'll call the station.
They turn back to watch Phil's wrap-up. Phil is completely unkempt, still wearing only pajama bottoms and his overcoat, looking even more demented.
There is no way this winter is ever going to end as long as that groundhog keeps seeing a shadow every day. I don't see any other way out. He's got to be stopped, and I've got to stop him. For Channel 9 News, this is Phil Connors.
Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob night. Phil is walking around the mound, casing it out. He takes a rifle out from under his coat and sneaks up to the burrow. He pulls a smoke bomb from his pocket, lights it, and throws it into the hole, then scurries for the edge of the knob and hits the deck. He lifts his rifle and aims at it. Smoke is now pouring from the mound. Lots of it. Phil waits, his trigger finger twitching. A woman casually walks by and stops. She surveys the situation.
He ain't there.
Phil doesn't move. He doesn't care that she sees him.
Now you can wait all night, but he ain't coming out. He don't live there. They keep him in the library.
Phil's gun droops. The woman begins to walk off, then stops.
Plug him once for me.
She leaves. Why did they cut that character? She's gold. Cut to exterior Civic Center day. Phil passes the pedestal bearing a life-size bronze statue of the Groundhog and enters the public library. Interior library continuous. Phil walks past the front desk looking very haggard and dangerous and enters the children's section. No one is present except the children's librarian, a young woman reshelving books in the stacks. He looks around quickly and sees a window in the wall and over it a large sign which reads, Punxsutawney Phil, the Great Prognosticator. Phil heads right for it. The groundhog scurries around his little temperature-controlled habitat, oblivious to the approaching danger. As Phil approaches the groundhog display, he reaches into his overcoat and pulls out a pump shotgun with a short pistol grip. The children's librarian sees the gun and freezes. Phil pumps a shell into the chamber as he walks right up to the case. Phil's POV. The groundhog looks right into his sights. Phil squeezes the trigger. Loud gunshot. The glass window is still intact. Not a scratch on it. The groundhog looks up playfully. Phil fires off 4 more rounds, then again, no results. Phil can't believe it. He charges the glass and pounds it with the rifle butt. He can't even chip it. Suddenly, he's seized from behind by 2 strong men who take the rifle from him and wrestle him to the floor. The librarian comes running up and looks at the groundhog.
Is he all right?
It's fine. That's 2 inches of bulletproof glass there. You can be too careful in this day and age.
Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob dawn. The groundhog is just poking his head out of the hole. He stands full height and looks around. Phil looks directly at the groundhog with hate and scheming madness. Suddenly, Phil whips out a big kitchen knife from under his coat and dives at the groundhog. Town officials and police throw themselves on Phil as the groundhog scampers safely back into his hole. Rita and Larry videotape the incident, aghast at Phil's insane attack. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob another day. Larry and Rita are loading their equipment back into the van. Rita spots Phil standing on the other side of the crowd, staring at her. She marches straight over to him, furious.
Where were you this morning? How could you possibly miss the shoot?
I've come to the end of me, Rita. There's only one way out now. Just remember, we had a wonderful day together once.
Phil kisses her gently on the cheek and walks off towards the back of the knob. Rita watches him, then follows at a discreet distance, very worried. In a small clearing behind the man-made groundhog burrow, Buster Green and 2 other Groundhog Club officials are lifting a cage into the front seat of Buster's pickup truck.
There you go, buddy. Good job. Hey, he smiled at me. You see that?
Right.
There, little fella.
The other official looks up and sees Phil walking towards them like a zombie.
Hi there, mister. Something I can do for you?
Without a word, Phil jumps quickly into the cab of the pickup and starts it up.
Hey, what are you?
Phil drives off in Buster's truck. Rita witnesses the groundhog napping and runs back towards the knob.
Larry!
Buster and his aides race for another car parked nearby.
Jake, call the police. Get the word out. Somebody kidnapped Phil. We're going after him. Come on, Tommy.
They jump into a car. Buster guns the engine and takes off after the pickup. Rita runs up to Larry and grabs the camera on the fly.
Let's go. Phil just snatched the groundhog.
Larry does a slow take and starts gathering up the rest of the gear.
Probably some kind of gerbil deal pervert.
Cut to exterior local road minutes later. Phil comes tearing around a slippery curve, followed by Buster in his car, and close behind him, a contingent of police cars and the Channel 9 news van. Interior pickup continuous. Phil looks at the groundhog on the seat next to him, then punches the gas as he turns up a mountain drive.
Coming to the end of the trail, Phil, then we're going out in a blaze of glory.
Interior, Buster's car, same time. Buster pursues Phil with relentless determination.
Nobody takes my groundhog and gets away with it.
Interior, news van, same time. Rita is driving. Larry is hooking up the camera.
What's he doing? What could he be thinking? He must have just snapped.
Larry squeezes into the passenger seat with the camera mounted on his shoulder.
This ought to be good.
Exterior, mountain road, continuous. The cars chase the pickup around to the top of the mountain. Interior, Buster's car, continuous.
Okay, I know this road. There's no way off except the way we come up.
All right, we got him now.
Exterior, loggers leap, continuous. The pickup is losing its lead over the pursuers as it nears the sharp mountain cliff. Interior, the pickup, same time. Phil looks in his rearview mirror as the cars chasing him. He glances down at the groundhog. He takes a breath.
Okay, pal, it's showtime.
Phil hits the gas. Interior, the news van, same time. Larry is taping as Rita comes around the curve, just in time to see the pickup speeding towards the cliff. Rita hits the brakes and watches in horror.
Phil, no.
Exterior, loggers leap, continuous. The pickup bursts through a retaining fence and rockets over the edge of the cliff. The pickup seems to hang in the air for a long time, then it begins its slow motion descent, falling ever so gracefully until it impacts on the granite rock face far below. Big explosion, big fireball, flaming wreckage, then a small click, followed by "I got you, babe." Dissolved to Phil. He slowly opens his eyes and blinks. He looks around and realizes he's back in his room at the bed and breakfast.
Ah, nuts.
Phil throws off the covers and hurls himself out of bed. Cut to interior, Ned Ryerson's office, day. Ned and a client are huddled over his desk, looking at some papers. A body drops quickly past the window behind them. It's Phil. They rush to the window and look down at the sidewalk 3 stories below. Phil is sprawled there like a broken puppet, lifeless. Interior, Phil's room, dawn. "I Got You, Babe" is playing. Phil wakes up and smashes the radio. Cut to exterior street. Exterior street. When a Greyhound bus pulls out of the bus station and accelerates down Main Street. Suddenly, Phil, dressed in pajamas and overcoat, leaps out in front of the speeding bus. Rita witnesses the whole incident. Driver's POV. He sees Phil through the windshield, but doesn't even have time to hit the brakes before he runs right over Phil. Cut to a TV screen. A woman in some horror movie is screaming. Reveal, Mrs. Lancaster is watching TV in the parlor of the hotel. In the corridor behind her, Phil walks by, dressed in a robe, carrying an electric toaster and a towel, heading for the bathroom. A few minutes pass. We hear the zap of an electrocution. The lights and TV flicker and dim for a moment, then come back on. Cut to exterior, the bank, day. The building is surrounded by police, all crouched behind their cars with guns and rifles trained on the doors. Suddenly, the doors burst open and Phil comes running out of the bank screaming, dressed in camouflage fatigues and armed to the teeth with an assault rifle in one hand, an Uzi in the other, and a couple of handguns stuck in his belt. He doesn't get 3 feet before he's shot down in an incredible hail of gunfire. Rita stands beside the camera gaping in horror while Larry records the grisly massacre. Interior, coroner's day. Rita stands weeping while Phil's body is covered with a sheet. In the shadowy darkness under the sheet, a click is heard and Phil's eyes pop open. "I Got You, Babe" plays. Interior, Phil's room, continuous. Phil pulls the sheet off his face and finds himself back in his bed in his room. A tear falls from his eye. Cut to interior, diner, day. Rita and Phil are sitting in the diner at their regular table.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
I'm a god.
You're a god.
No, I'm a god. Not the god. At least I don't think I am.
That's reassuring. For a minute there, I thought you might be crazy.
No, it's true. It's the only possible explanation. I'm a supernatural being.
Because you survived a car wreck?
The waiter comes up to the table. And that would normally be Jacob.
Are you ready to order?
Not just the car wreck. I didn't just blow up yesterday, you know. I've been run over, drowned, crushed, stabbed, shot, electrocuted, poisoned, frozen, burned, and asphyxiated.
Really?
The
But
waiter
I
looks.
always wake up the next day without a scratch, without even a headache. I'm telling you, I'm immortal.
The special today is blueberry waffles
Why are you telling me this?
because some people like blueberry waffles.
Not you, him.
Because I want you to believe in me.
You're not a god, Phil. Take my word for it. This is 12 years of Catholic school talking.
I could come back if you're not ready.
How do you know I'm not a god?
Please.
How do you know?
Because it's not possible.
I'll come back.
The waiter turns to leave.
Hey, Billy.
The waiter turns back.
This is Bill. He's been a waiter for 3 years because he left Penn State and had to find work. He likes the town. He paints toy soldiers and he's gay.
I am not.
Phil grabs an astonished Rita and pulls her over to the next table.
What are you doing?
This is Doris Kleiser and her fiance, Fred.
Do I know you?
They're supposed to get married tonight, but Doris is having second thoughts.
What?
Doris touches her engagement ring, dumbfounded. Rita is a little embarrassed.
Lovely ring.
Thanks.
Phil drags Rita back to the counter.
This is Ralph. Say hi, Rita.
Rita flashes a quick smile. Did Angel come back? Oh.
Don't believe I've had the privilege.
Ralph hates his life here and wants to drive into town smashing into policemen.
Wow, who don't?
This is some kind of trick.
Yes, it's a trick. But maybe the real God cheats too. Maybe God isn't omnipotent. He's just had a lot of practice.
How about that guy?
Tom worked in the coal mine till they shut it down.
Her?
Nancy went to Lincoln High School in Pittsburgh, takes herself out to lunch once a week.
Rita is getting very bewildered. From the reactions, she can see that Phil is right about each and every one of them.
How do you know all of these people?
I told you the truth. In 5 seconds, there's going to be a grease fire in the kitchen. 5, 4.
This is nuts.
3, 2, 1.
Phil points to the kitchen as smoke starts pouring from the service window. Everyone in the diner is now staring at them.
Okay, enough. Let's just sit down and think for a second. What do you know about me, Phil? Do you know me too?
Phil takes a long pause.
I know all about you, Rita. I know you like producing, but hope for better than Channel 9 Pittsburgh.
Everyone knows that.
You like boats, but not the ocean. There's a lake you go to in the summer with your family up in the mountains with an old wooden dock and a boathouse with boards missing in the roof, and a place you used to crawl underneath to be alone, and at night you look up and see the stars. You're a sucker for Rocky Road, Marlon Brando, and French poetry. You're wonderfully generous. You're kind to strangers and children, and when you stand in the snow, you look like an angel.
How are you doing this?
I told you, I wake up every day right here, right in Punxsutawney, and it's always February 2nd, and I can't turn it off. If you still don't believe me, listen.
But Phil.
Listen. In 10 seconds, Larry is going to walk through that door and take you away from me.
Larry?
But you can't let him. Please believe me. You've got to believe me.
I don't.
Larry pokes his head in the doorway, looks around, and spots Rita.
Look.
As Rita turns around to see Larry, Phil grabs a pen and pad from a passing waitress and quickly writes something down as Larry makes his way to their table. Phil finishes writing.
You ready? We better get going if we're going to stay ahead of the weather.
Phil hands the paper to Rita. She reads it.
Stay ahead of the weather.
Larry looks at the paper.
What's that?
Rita looks at Phil with new understanding and empathy. Cut to exterior Punxsutawney Day. Rita and Phil are walking down the sidewalk.
After I got over the shock, it was kind of fun for the first year or two. I had anything I wanted, except you, of course.
Phil abruptly pulls Rita aside. A new pile of snow slides off a roof and onto the sidewalk where they would have walked. Phil doesn't even look up. Rita looks as if she's seeing a miracle.
How did this start?
I don't know. I just woke up, just like always.
Ned Ryerson approaches.
Hey, Phil? Phil Connors?
Rita, this is Ned Ryerson. He's an arsehole.
He remembers me. Bing.
Phil and Rita keep walking. Rita looks back at Ned, perplexed.
Trust me on that one.
Cut to exterior fudge shop day. Phil and Rita come out of the shop, sharing pieces of fudge.
This is great.
No, it isn't. You hate fudge.
Just how well do we know each other?
I told you. I know everybody.
Rita stops walking.
Did we ever,
Did we ever? You were an animal.
come on.
You're European trained, aren't you?
Phil continues walking.
Phil, it's not funny.
She catches up to him. Phil turns to her.
You weren't interested.
Okay.
She begins walking again.
Not that it would have been so awful.
I understand.
I just had to know whether to smack you or not.
You did.
Good.
Cut to exterior park day. Phil and Rita are sitting on a park bench.
So do you believe any of this?
I don't know. I don't know how else you could know so much. Maybe it really is happening.
I used to try to stay up all night sometimes. I thought if I could stay conscious, I could figure out what was going on, or at least hang on to something from the day before. But I gave up on that a long time ago.
Rita looks at him with compassion.
It sounds so lonely.
It's not that bad. You get used to it.
Rita comes to a decision.
Maybe I should spend the rest of the day with you as a objective witness, just to see what happens. Okay?
Yeah, sure. That'd be okay.
Cut to interior Phil's room night. A hat is lying on Phil's bed. A playing card flies past. A second playing card sails right into the hat. Another playing card sails past, missing. Another playing card sails right into the hat. Phil and Rita are tossing cards. Rita is missing. Phil is hitting.
It's not in the wrist so much as the fingers. Be the hat.
It would take me a year to get good at this.
6 months. 4 or 5 hours a day.
Is this what you do with eternity?
Now you know. It's like waiting for a bus that never comes. You should see me play pool and bowling, juggling, hacky sack. I can ride a unicycle.
There's a knock on the door.
I'll get it.
Phil jumps for the door and opens it. The pizza guy is there.
Hi, Marty. $11.75 including the delivery charge, right?
Phil pays him, takes the pizza, and closes the door.
Pepperoni and olives, my favorite.
Of course. I told you. I know everything.
I don't think I'd want to know everything that's going to happen. I'd like to be surprised.
That's not the worst part.
What's the worst part?
The worst part is starting over every day. Tomorrow you won't remember any of this. You'll go back to treating me like a complete jerk.
No.
It's not your fault. I am a jerk.
No, you're not.
Okay, I'm not. It really doesn't make a lot of difference. I've killed myself so many times, I don't even exist anymore. I'm just completely empty.
Or completely clean.
If you're going to be this positive all the time, I may have to rough you up a little.
Wait, have we done this before?
Which part?
You getting me up here, the card game, the pizza?
No, this is the first time.
Well,
what?
Well, how does it feel to be doing something completely new?
Phil looks at her with tremendous affection and gratitude.
Good. Really good.
He takes a slice of pizza and starts eating with gusto. Dissolved to the pizza box later. There's only one slice left. Phil and Rita are sitting on the bed together, close but not touching. Soft music plays on the radio.
Sometimes I wish I had 1,000 lifetimes. One to be a great journalist, one to, I don't know, go back to school, study art or auto mechanics. One just to take care of all the busy work, pay the bills, get my car tuned up. One to be the wild woman of Burano. One to be Mother Teresa. Maybe it's not a curse, Phil. It all just depends on how you look at it.
Phil stares at her for a long time, letting this sink in. Then he belches really loud. Rita stares at him, then burps surprisingly loud herself.
I want you to know it's been a really nice day for me.
Me too.
Maybe, if it's not too boring for you, we could do it again.
Oh, I hope so.
The clock reads 11:59. Rita grabs Phil's hand. He puts an arm around her. They look into each other's eyes. Rita gives Phil a reassuring smile. She squeezes his hand. Their eyes turn to the clock. 11:59 turns to midnight. Rita looks up at Phil as if expecting some magical event.
You're still here?
I know.
Thought you were supposed to disappear. Or was I, or something?
Not till 6.
You rat.
She's mad in a playful way.
I never said midnight.
You knew I was waiting for midnight.
But I never said it.
Can't believe you. I didn't know this was going to take all night.
Does that mean you're going?
No.
Phil takes Rita's hand. She doesn't resist. Dissolve 2 later. Rita is now sitting next to Phil on the bed, her head resting on his shoulder. She nods off, then catches herself.
I'm sorry.
It's okay to go to sleep, you know. I promise I won't touch you much.
No, it's all right. I'm not tired. What were you saying again?
Her eyes start to close again.
I was saying that the cow was eventually returned to its rightful owner.
Really?
That's right.
He looks at her, sees she's truly asleep, and gently maneuvers her into a comfortable reclining position on the bed. Then he carefully puts a pillow below her head and settles down next to her.
What I was going to say was, I think you're the kindest, sweetest, prettiest, most wonderful girl I ever met in my life.
She starts to stir, but he gently kisses her back to sleep.
Shh. That's good. I could never tell you this, but from the first minute I looked at you, I just wanted to hold you close and be with you forever. Every time I saw you around the station, I thought my heart was going to explode. I used to dream about us being together. In my dream, you loved me as much as I loved you, and we didn't have to say anything, but I knew you understood everything.
She stirs again, but he kisses her until she returns to deep sleep.
I know a guy like me could never deserve to have someone like you. But if I did, I swear I would love you for the rest of my life.
Rita opens her eyes.
Did you say something?
Good night, Rita.
He kisses her gently on the forehead.
Good night, Phil.
Close up the clock. The time changes from 5:59 to 6 o'clock. The radio starts playing. Phil wakes up alone in bed. He lies there for a moment, then leaps out of bed like a man reborn and heads straight for the shower. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob dawn. Rita and Larry are in the packed press area, beginning to set up the equipment. Phil arrives carrying 2 cups of coffee.
Rita?
She looks at him without a trace of the rapport they shared the night before.
Oh, hi, Phil.
Thought you might like some.
He hands her the coffee.
Thanks.
Careful, it's hot. Larry?
He hands Larry a cup.
Yeah, great.
We're just setting up.
You know, I bumped into Buster Green. He kind of runs this thing, and he tipped me off that we might get a better shot over there.
Really?
I mean, maybe we should go for it. What do you think?
I don't know. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. Larry?
Sure, why not?
All right. Thanks, Phil. Good work.
She reaches for an equipment case.
I'll get that.
Phil helps Larry carry the camera gear.
You and I never talk, Larry. You got kids?
Larry looks suspicious. Rita looks on, reevaluating Phil. Cut to interior library day. Phil enters the library, approaching the librarian.
Hi. Where would I find the philosophy section?
Down and to the left, 600s.
Phil walks through the stacks past the Groundhog window. Cut to exterior, a house day. Phil rings the doorbell. A kindly young woman, Mary, answers.
Yes.
I'd like a piano lesson, please.
Oh, okay. I'm with a student now, but...
I'll give you $1,000.
Mary hesitates for only a moment, then ushers Phil into the house and closes the door. A moment later, the door opens and a little girl with an armload of music books exits as if pushed. The door closes behind her. Cut to interior hallway dawn. Phil walks happily down the hallway. He passes the chubby man.
Morning.
Buongiorno, signore.
I think it'll be an early spring.
Winter slumbering in the open air wears on his smiling face a dream of spring.
Oh.
Cut to interior Mary's house day. Phil and Mary are sitting together at the piano. Phil is playing poorly.
Not bad, Mr. Connors. You say this is your first lesson?
Technically, yes.
Phil plays on, definitely improving. Cut to interior library day. We see several cuts of Phil studying at the library. Supered over these cuts is a calendar with the pages flipping by. They all read February 2nd. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob dawn. Phil stands in front of the camera giving his report.
In fact, the Groundhog's legendary ability to predict the weather may be more than just the German folklore of the region. Higher temperatures trigger hormonal changes in the testosterone levels of male groundhogs, which may in fact wake them from hibernation and send them out to battle with other males for mating rights. So the truth is they're not looking for their shadows, they're looking for groundhog chicks.
Rita looks on, clearly delighted with the report. Cut to interior Mary's house day. Phil is playing the piano with ever-increasing skill as more February 2nd calendar pages float by. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob dawn. Phil is delivering another report.
Groundhog Day, February 2nd, also known as Candlemas Day, or the Feast of the Purification of the Virgin Mary, the day Mary first came to the Temple of Ritual Blessings following the birth of the infant Jesus, and celebrated since the Middle Ages by the sacramental lighting of candles, hence the old Scottish couplet, which long predates the American groundhog tradition. If Candlemas dawns bright and clear, there'll be 2 winters in the year.
Larry whispers an aside to Rita.
Is he making this stuff up?
Shh.
Cut to exterior cemetery day. Behind the graveyard is a work shed with various tombstones scattered about. Old Tucker, the town stone carver, is at work chiseling a name into a grave marker. Behind him, Phil is chipping away at a small hunk of marble, sculpting a very lovely cherub. Rita sits on a stool, eating an apple and sipping hot tea, watching him with amazed interest.
But what if the rules changed? What if none of your actions had consequences?
It would still be an absolute morality. There has to be an absolute good, regardless of circumstances.
Oh, is that so, Miss Plato? Then let me ask you this. Where does this absolute good come from? From the sky?
Rita shrugs.
I don't know. From my freshman philosophy course, I guess.
They both laugh. Then she looks at him for a long moment and grins.
What?
Nothing. I just can't believe you're such a fine sculptor.
Phil takes a bite of her apple and gets up.
Oh, I gotta go.
Where do you have to go in Puxtawny?
I got piano and then drums.
Here?
Come on, I'll drop you off.
They exit. Cut to exterior Main Street later. Phil drops Rita off and watches as she crosses the street to Larry, who's waiting on the other side. Across the street, Rita takes a wistful glance towards Phil, then gets in the news van and drives off. Phil gets out of the car and starts walking, but finds himself face to face with Ned Ryerson.
Phil? Phil Connors? I thought that was you.
Ned? Ned Ryerson? I don't believe it. I've missed you so much.
Phil gives Ned a big hug and keeps holding on for an uncomfortably long time, actually giving Ned a hickey on the neck. Ned goes into homophobic shock.
I gotta get going. Nice to see you, Phil.
He hurries off. Cut to interior Mary's house day. Phil is sitting on the piano bench with Mary, playing pretty well. Mary is astonished.
How long you been studying, Mr. Connors?
1 day. I'm gifted.
Cut to exterior street day. Phil is walking down the street. He glances down the alley as he passes, stops, walks back, and enters the alley. The old bum that Phil has never noticed before is lying there, huddled against a wall. Phil goes to help him.
Hey, mister. Hey, come on. Let's get you somewhere warm.
The old bum turns to look at Phil, then closes his eyes.
There you go.
Phil practically carries him out of the alley. Cut to interior hospital emergency room night. A nurse approaches Phil.
You the one that brought the old man?
How is he?
He passed away just now.
Phil pauses for a long moment.
What'd he die of?
He was just old. It was his time.
I want to see his chart. Excuse me.
Phil brushes past her and makes for the big double doors leading to triage.
Sir, you can't. Look, some people just died.
Not on my watch.
Cut to interior diner morning. Phil is propping the old man up at a table, trying to feed him hot soup. Cut to interior hospital day. Phil is furiously looking over x-rays, flipping through medical journals, and making notes. Cut to exterior alley night. Phil is in the alley, shaking the old man, trying to rouse him.
Come on, hang on there, breathe.
Phil stops. The body lies unmoving. Phil sits back, breathing heavily. Cut to exterior Gobbler's Knob dawn. Phil is delivering his report. Everyone there is silent and listening to Phil. Even the other reporters have turned their cameras on him.
When Chekhov saw the long winter, it was a winter bleak and dark and barefoot of hope. And yet we know the winter's only one more step in the cycle. And standing among the people of Punxsutawney, basking in the warmth of their hearths and hearts, I couldn't imagine a better fate than a long and lustrous winter.
Phil smiles. Rita smiles too.
For Channel 9 News, I'm Phil Connors.
There is much applause. Even Larry brushes away a tear. Phil hands the microphone to Rita.
Phil.
Sorry, I'm going to be late.
Late
Phil
for what?
rushes off. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Could you break it down and wrap out of here yourself, Larry?
Sure.
Thanks.
Rita rushes off after Phil. Cut to street corner day. Phil walks briskly towards an intersection, glancing nervously at his watch. Rita follows him at a distance, trying to keep up. Marie, a little 9-year-old girl, approaches an intersection, shielding her brand new puppy under her winter coat. She isn't paying attention to traffic and fails to notice a big truck bearing down on her. As she steps off the curve, Phil arrives and with split-second timing, nonchalantly but firmly grabs her coat to hold her back, just as the big truck pushes past in the street, narrowly missing her.
Hey, did you forget to look both ways? You didn't even look one way.
My doggy was cold.
Yeah, well, my doggies are freezing, but I'm still going to watch out for cars. See you around, kid.
Phil looks at his watch and rushes off. Rita looks on amazed and follows him at a distance. Cut to interior Berghoff restaurant day. Phil enters the crowded restaurant and pushes past all the people waiting to be seated. He walks casually but quickly and purposefully around the tables, squeezing past busy waitresses and seated patrons towards a commotion in the back of the restaurant. 2 businessmen leaning over a third.
Oh my God, he's having a heart attack. Lay him down. What do I do? He's not breathing. He's turning blue. Help!
It's turning blue.
Phil walks straight up to the blue-faced man, grabs him from behind, gets him in the Heimlich grip, and squeezes sharply. A bolus of food flies across the room. The victim coughs and splutters, then starts breathing again.
Jerry, you okay?
I think I did it. I did it.
Phil lets go of the grateful victim.
If you're going to eat steak, get the better teeth, will you? Enjoy the rest of your lunch, gents.
He exits.
Wow, who was that guy?
Phil gets to the door and finds Rita standing there, looking at him in awe.
Rita!
Okay, hold it right there. I want to know what's going on, and I want to know right now.
I'm sorry. I'm really pressed right now. Meet me outside the hospital about 5 o'clock and we'll talk about it.
Hospital?
Phil looks at his watch and rushes away.
Try the curly Q fries. Killer.
Cut to interior hospital corridor later. A gurney bursts through the double doors, paramedics and nurses in attendance. The patient is a teenage girl, Janie, totally unconscious. Interior emergency room continuous. The gurney is wheeled into the surgery.
Looks like insulin shot. She's probably diabetic.
Phil enters wearing a doctor's scrub suit and begins barking orders.
She's not diabetic. It's an overdose. Let's get her up here and pump her stomach. Then I want a complete blood workup. Stat.
Right, doctor.
She realizes she's never seen him before.
Call me Phil.
Phil. Like the groundhog?
Exactly.
Cut to interior children's ward late afternoon. Sick children in hospital gowns are gathered around Phil, laughing and squealing. Phil is making balloon animals. Make a giraffe!
A giraffe? Let's see. It's just like a dog with a big, what was it?
Neck!
A big tail? Okay, a big tail.
Neck! A big neck! Phil makes an animal really quickly. Rita watches from the doorway, unseen by Phil.
There, a dog with long legs.
No, long neck!
Oh, right, a dog with a big head.
No! The kids attack Phil, lots of rolling around on the bed. Rita watches, completely enthralled. Finally, Phil extricates himself and exits to find Rita waiting.
All right, now what's going on?
Come on, we have to hurry.
Cut to exterior residential street a little later. Phil rushes down the sidewalk with Rita close behind. He stops under a tree and puts his arms out just as a young boy falls out of the tree and into his arms, knocking him to the ground. The kid runs off unhurt as Phil gets back to his feet and brushes himself off.
Oh, that little brat has never thanked me once. I ought to just let him bawl, teach him a lesson.
Phil, this is too, I must be dreaming.
Yeah, you and me both. Come on, we're almost done.
Cut to exterior alley night. Phil kneels on the cold ground beside the old bum who lies huddled against the wall immobile. Rita is standing by at the end of the alley, watching as Phil examines him. Phil writes something down on a small pad. He finishes and sets it down by the old man. Then he takes his coat and uses it to cover the man up. A siren is heard. Phil stands and walks away as an ambulance pulls into the alley.
Is he?
Yeah, let's go.
In a minute.
She waits and watches. The paramedics, Bud and Andy, get out of the ambulance and inspect the scene.
It's old. Really?
Oh, that's a shame.
Look here.
Bud picks up the note Phil left. Rita steps closer.
May I see that? Every night by cold bricks glow, I watch the shadow rising from this old man in the snow. At 8:02, we let it go.
At 8:02, we let it go.
Wow, that's nice.
Rita hands him the note and quickly walks away.
Suppose he wrote it?
Are you kidding?
Cut to exterior Main Street night. Rita catches up with Phil outside the Pennsylvanian, the town's oldest and best hotel.
Now what?
Come on, you'll see.
They enter. Cut to interior hotel lobby continuous. As Phil and Rita enter, there is music coming from a side room. The black velvet announcement board proclaims Kleiser Scott wedding. Cut to interior party room continuous. Phil and Rita walk into a banquet room decorated with streamers, balloons, and flowers. There's a long buffet table and a punch bowl. Another long table is loaded with wedding gifts. A small band is playing. People are dancing. The wedding party is dressed in rented tuxedos and appropriately poofy bridesmaids' dresses.
This is incredible. Whose wedding is this?
Phil grabs 2 glasses of champagne and hands one to Rita.
Oh, just some friends. Doris!
The bride, Doris, young and cheery, is on her way to see Phil. She's dragging Fred, her groom, with her.
Hi, Mr. Connor. So come on, Freddie.
Hi.
This is the guy I told you about.
No way.
How's it going, Fred?
Hey, I'd like to thank you for making Doris go through with this.
Are you kidding? Don't buy that playing hard to get stuff. She's crazy about you, you stud.
I'm really glad you could come.
Congratulations.
Phil reaches into his pocket, pulls out 2 tickets, and hands them to Doris.
What is this? No way! Oh, no way! Ah!
Doris throws herself on Fred and jumps up and down. Fred grabs the tickets.
WrestleMania? No way! No way!
Doris throws herself on Phil.
How did you know?
We're like going to be in Pittsburgh anyway.
I don't know. I just thought about you too, tried to picture what you'd want to do more than anything in the world, and it came to me. Bing! WrestleMania.
Thanks, Mr. Fred. Mr. Connors, you're a real pal.
This is the best!
Doris gives Phil a kiss. She and Fred move on.
Don't understand. You rush from one person to the next in town and you only visit once a year. You know everything before it happens. I don't know, you seem to be Punxsutawney's leading citizen.
The band finishes a set. The guests stop dancing and head for the refreshments. Phil and Rita are left alone for the moment.
What do you want to know?
Who are you?
I really don't know.
No, there's something going on with you.
Okay. I wake up in Punxsutawney on February 2nd every day. It's supernatural. I don't even try to explain it anymore. So I live each day as if it's the only day I've got.
Rita stares into his eyes for a very long time, but only sees true things, good things.
It's pretty amazing.
You want to know what's really amazing? I've been waiting for you every day for 10,000 years. I dream of you every night of my life. You've been my constant weapon against total despair, and it's just knowing you exist. It's kept me alive. How's that?
Rita can't even speak. This is clearly the nicest thing anyone has ever said to anybody. Mary, the piano teacher, notices Phil.
Phil! Oh, this is the guy.
Hello, Mary. Rita, this is one of Punxsy's finest musicians.
Give me a break. You should talk. Why don't you play something?
Oh, no,
Please.
Hey, Mr. Connors, go for it.
Phil looks at Rita. She nods and shrugs. Phil walks up to the platform and sits at the piano. He begins to play a slow, serious classical piece. Everyone falls silent. It's so beautiful, Rita is almost in tears. Then, after a pause to let the serious notes sink in, Phil transforms the piece into a fast, lively, upbeat jazz romp. Everyone is delighted, and as the rest of the band kicks in, everyone grabs a partner and begins to dance. An old coot, Uncle Leo, grabs Rita, and the two of them dance up a storm.
That's a great guy you got there. Dr. Connors fixed my back, you know.
Dr. Connors?
Rita looks over at Phil, joyously playing the piano. Cut to exterior street night. It's snowing lightly. Rita and Phil are walking slowly, arm in arm, close. They stop and embrace. Phil looks at Rita. She looks like an angel.
Wait, don't move.
Phil scoops up some snow and begins packing it down furiously, joyously, then rolling it into a large ball.
Making a snowman? I'll help.
No, stay there. Stand right there.
Phil lifts the now larger chunk of packed snow and sets it on a mailbox. Then he looks at her and starts to sculpt it. Dissolve 2 later. Phil is using a stick and the heat of his bare hands to model a delicate fold in the snow sculpture. Several bystanders look on with interest as Phil stands back from his work.
Can I look?
Okay, look.
It is an excellent likeness of Rita. The snow white as alabaster, pure as marble, a delicate and beautiful homage.
No one's ever done this for me. Not even a drawing. It's beautiful.
This is how I see you. When it all gets too much, I just close my eyes and there you are. Just like this. Take it home and keep it in the freezer.
Rita embraces Phil. They're about to kiss, looking deep into each other's eyes.
This one's for the Frog Prince.
What?
Nothing.
They kiss. A long, deep, soul-stirring kiss.
Will you come with me?
They continue standing there, embracing. Oh, sorry, Rita nods. They continue standing there, embracing, warming each other in the cold night air.
We're just going to leave her?
It doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't.
They kiss again. Cut to close up the clock. The digital clock radio changes from 5:59 to 6. Silence. No Sonny and Cher. No DJs. Nothing. Phil sits up in bed. Then he looks around the room. Things are different. Messier. Then he sees the covers move. Wide-eyed now, he looks over and sees Rita waking up, snuggling deep under the covers.
It's not true. It's not. It can't be true. Rita! Rita!
Morning.
Phil pounces on Rita, showering her with kisses.
You're here! My God! I can't believe you're here!
Glad to see you too.
No! It's happened! Don't you get it? It's tomorrow! It's...
Phil turns on the radio.
Still shoveling out the highways, but if you're walking, it's a beautiful day.
Yeah, the snow kind of cleared up everything.
Except your mouth.
Phil kisses the radio.
Oh, I love these guys.
Are you always this jolly in the morning?
Phil runs to the window and looks out. His POV, the street. The street is virtually empty. It's the town just waking up. Kids are throwing snowballs.
No, Groundhog, Rita, they're all gone.
You must have had
Phil
some
stops.
dream.
Phil stops and thinks.
Did I just dream it?
Phil opens the door and runs into the hallway wearing only pajama bottoms.
Phil.
Excuse me. Rita sits up in bed and waits. Suddenly, from somewhere else in the inn, comes the sound of Phil at the piano, expertly playing a difficult classical piece. He stops after a few bars. Phil runs back into the room.
It really happened. You're really here.
He pounces on Rita again.
You're really actually here.
I'm here.
They kiss, passionately and hungrily.
Let's go.
He scoops her up into his arms.
Where are we going?
Anywhere, everywhere.
Cut to interior breakfast room later. Phil and Rita, dressed now, enter and encounter Mrs. Lancaster. Phil hugs her.
Oh my.
Florence, say hello to Rita. She loves me.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
He kisses her on the cheek and rushes out with Rita. Exterior, the street, day. Phil and Rita walk down Main Street hand in hand.
Phil, good morning.
Mr. Connors, I wanted to thank you.
That's all right.
A florist steps out of the floral shop with a bouquet.
Phil, here, I want you to have these.
Oh, thanks, Carl.
Phil smells the flowers and hands the bouquet to Rita.
And so began my final lifetime and ended the longest winter on record. I would find myself no longer to affect the chain of events in this town, but I did learn something about time. You can waste time, you can kill time, you can do time, but if you use it wisely, there's never enough of it. So you'd better make the most of the time you got.
A car skids on the ice and smashes into a tree. Phil and Rita rush over to help, but the driver waves that he's okay. Rita and Phil continue their walk.
Larry never got through the blizzard, so none of my groundhog reports ever made it on the air. But Rita and I, we lived happily ever after.
Phil and Rita walk off together. Across the street, Larry is trying to get rid of Ned Ryerson, who is doggedly trying to sell him insurance.
But Phil, you told me you were his accountant. Look, I told you, he's nuts.
Larry keeps trying to walk away, but Ned won't leave him alone.
Let me just tell you about single premium life.
Finally, Larry slugs Ned and storms off, leaving Ned floundering in a snowbank. Phil and Rita walk on as we pull up and away from Main Street, revealing the whole of Punxsutawney and the snowy countryside that embraces it. The end.
Woo! Welcome to Table Read Tuesdays. Tonight we're reading The Groundhog. I'm just kidding. All right. Awesome. I love that movie. And it was such a good, I don't know, I thought like a quick read, fun script.
That was a fun script. I hope Bill Murray doesn't freak out at the way I played his character.
I mean, of course,
I think it's
different. Everybody does it different.
Yep.
And yes, Petra, I did butcher some French, but I only took one semester of French in grade 5. It's not required.
I'm only messing with you. Note the emoticon. Why does everybody bring up what we talk about in the group chat? It ain't meant to be discussed out here. Sheesh.
But we will talk about other things after we do outros of everybody, say where you can find all these wonderful, great people. So Vicky Dykes.
Hi, I'm Vicky Dykes. I'm an actress from Central Alberta. You can find me on Instagram. I'm YogaGramma7, and I'm also on Facebook under the name Vicky Dykes.
Awesome. Heather Lee Cameron.
Hello. My name is Heather Lee Cameron. I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a creative freelancer, and I'm a student in family history research. I live in Lethbridge, Alberta. I don't have anything going on right now except for some unfinished writing projects and some school. and that can be done online, but I'm still looking for work because it's very possible to work and go to school online at the same time. Yeah, this was really fun. You can find me on YouTube at the Storm and Latter-day Saint. And you can find me on my work on Facebook at Heather Lee Freelancer. My other links can be found on the Storm and Latter-day Saints, and I can be found on Actors Access and Backstage.com. Yeah, this was great fun. And Bill Murray, if you're watching this, I hope I did you proud. I'll tag you in the Instagram post I make about it later.
Awesome. So, Phil, can you see your shadow over there? All right. Next, we have Petra Stedman. Tell us who you are, what you're doing, where people can find you.
Hello, Petra Stedman. Once again, I don't see the video of me, but if you, as long as you,
it delayed, but then it moved. Now it's back on me, so you have to talk
Twitter,
again.
Trying to get a little bit more of a. Okay, so yeah, just mostly at the moment on Twitter at Petra Stedman. You can find me there. Occasionally seeing the random little nuggets that I dig out of my brain and fling at the screen, and currently working to get a little bit more presence, I guess, where people can potentially find me for, I don't know, stuff like this, which could be interesting and fun. And I don't know. I don't think I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't like working with anybody else as much as I like working with you guys, but I don't know. I'm willing to take that risk. If anybody would like to try and find me down and hire me, it's like, I have crazy brain, we'll travel. That's pretty much it. And here, of course, whenever I can join you guys for a Table Read Tuesday. So
awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you found Table Read Tuesday and we found you. I forget the order of events, but I'm glad. Morgan Toll.
Hi, I'm Morgan Toll. I am a SAG-AFTRA actor, voice actor. You can find me on Instagram at Morgan Elizabeth Toll. I am also now a talent coordinator for Streamily, which is like Comic-Con every single day. So if anybody has any actors they would like to have a live signing with, just tag me and let me know who.
Comic-Con every single day. That sounds too good to be true. That's awesome. That's awesome. And we have Angel Peterson in Somewhere Beautiful. Is that Punxsutawney right there? Where are you at? Doing the robot.
You know what, Phil? No. Oh well. You guys probably know by now if you've watched Table Read Tuesday. If you've not, then I'm just a stranger.
Stranger danger.
Oh.
Angel does so much for Table Read
Let's
Tuesday. She does
start
casting.
here.
She does editing. She's writing a screenplay right now, adapting it from a book. She's written 2 other screenplays before. She also does interviews for her company to, help people capture the legacy to share with their family. And even more than that. Sorry, you were breaking up, so I was filling in for you.
Cute.
All right. I think we got everybody. It's shuffled around. I point directions, and then even though I know later it's not going to be in those directions.
Right.
But that's us. That's Groundhog Day, Table Read Tuesday. Awesome. Woo. All right. So those who have to go, good night. Thank you. It was awesome. Those that are sticking around. First, I want to hear mostly from Heather and Vicky, because Vicky just saw it most recently out of all of us for the first time, and Heather has never seen it. So first, Heather, what did you think?
I thought the script was hilarious. He was very self-centered in the beginning, and he did a lot of irresponsible crap knowing that he would absolutely not be held accountable for it. And then when he realized what he actually wanted, which was like the girl, he just really used his days to just clean up his act and just become a better person. And that natural self, because I'm sure he was actually naturally a good guy deep down. that natural self of his attracted her in the end. So it was very interesting.
Very cool. Very cool.
And I guess, was that one girl like a Wiccan? The
Oh,
one that read that spell?
I guess so. And that's another thing that, like, in this script, this version, we see why it's at 5:59 and not 6 o'clock, because some people wonder that. Why isn't it midnight? Why isn't this? Like, it was with her and there's the broken watch and stuff. That's not in the movie. That scene of her doing all that stuff, not in the movie.
Well,
Unless I'm misremembering because I haven't seen it for a little while.
It's not in there. But they also originally, the original version of the script had him starting, I think it was like on day, he'd been doing this for several years at this point. And then you go back and see how he got to Punxsutawney the first day when he comes in to town, and it went back a little bit. And they're like, yeah, we have to go back and explain. So hopefully Mr. Rudin is not terribly upset with what his story became. I don't think he would be with the massive gross that the movie did at the box office, but I could be wrong. But I mean, I think the film works better without the explanation. It's kind of like,
well, they started at 5:59 and 6 because isn't that what sunrise is in the winter?
Well, I know his watch was broken at that time, so I'm guessing that's my conclusion. I could be wrong. I mean, that possibly could have been sunrise time.
Well, given when they do the Punxsutawney pullout every year, I'm thinking it might have to do with like knowing that he had to get up at a certain time. That's just when the alarm is set to go off every day. So that became like the trigger for it, is essentially that's when he would have woken up, and that's what triggered the new day over and over again. If he had, set his alarm for midnight or something, which is unusual for somebody trying to get up in the morning, it might have reset it then. But yeah, it's just every single time it flips to 6 a.m. when the alarm is set to go off, I think is what did it. So
that's also a good theory. That's some other thought. But Vicky, you just saw the movie. You just saw this, read this. What other differences did you notice?
Well, quite a few, but one from the beginning, he actually travels with them in the van, not in his own vehicle. So that does change the dynamics. He's frustrated with them. He honks the horn, and that gives Larry the nobody honks the horn except me. And a difference at the end, he's walking along with Rita, Phil is, and Ned comes out, and instead of it Larry being attacked and you need insurance, we get to find out that, hey, Phil has gotten every kind of insurance you can name. Like, he's made Ned's day. Yeah. So that's a huge difference from here's Ned picking on Larry trying to get a sale, and actually, hey, good old buddy Phil did it for him.
And also there are certain oh, sorry, go ahead, continue please.
Well, it just shows the change, the huge change in the character of Phil, which in every play, every movie, the main character goes through some kind of a change. Actually, all of the main characters go through change, but this is so obvious how he changes. He's a different person by the end of it.
Absolutely. And I like the point you brought up, Petra. Like, is the original writer, Danny Rubin, like happy or not? Like, I know the writer of the book Never Ending Story was not happy with how that movie came out, even though we all love it and so many people love it, that the writer is not happy.
That movie only adapts the first half of the novel.
Yes.
It is nothing like that. It's meant to be this very dark, extremely fantastical exploration of what happens when you are given the ability to do anything you want, and then you go crazy with it. I mean, spoilers for a book that's been around longer than I have. I mean, he ruins Fantasia. He goes absolutely insane. Yeah, but anyway, it's like, I like that they only adapted half of it. I think they left it on a much more positive and pleasant note, which was fine. But yeah, Michael Enda was so unhappy with it. He hated the book. Or he hated the movie. But I don't, this is the thing, like, Danny Rubin, I don't think has ever gone on record saying which, like, I know he was upset that they cut the framing device, and he didn't like the fact that they changed and started before Phil gets into the time loop instead of starting in the time loop and going back and showing how he got into it. But Harold Ramis was like, they're not gonna like what's gonna be the easiest for people to understand, which is you can't start in the middle. I mean, you can sometimes in Mid Ross works, but in this particular instance, he thought it was going to be too complex.
Yeah. So I think just for writers to know, like, because they're so attached to their work, and that hey, it might get changes later, and it might be slightly different, but people love this movie. I love this movie. This movie is so good, even with those changes and it being different.
Yeah. One of the major things that I kept like noticing, it's very subtle things. It's like little things here and there. Lines that were for certain characters ended up going to other people in the movie. So I'm like, wait a minute, Rita said that, or Phil said that, or this character said that. And I think it works a little bit better. I'm not saying that some of the scenes that aren't in the movie from this one weren't fascinating, because I mean, the script is actually quite cool. But it's like, the movie just works kind of so perfectly. And you had obvious scenes where people were going off of their own, like, just riffing and absolutely improvising. There was absolutely scenes where they're just like, okay, we're doing this scene 20 times in a row. We have to do something different or I'm going to snap. I mean, it was really just looking at the differences. I mean, it was very interesting, but it's also like, it's subtle things. It's not just the big things. It's not just the stuff that would absolutely have been an improv. It's like, so you took this line and tweaked it for that character, and it changes the delivery and it changes the feeling and the impact of the scene. So I really like that. So it was cool.
Yeah. And there's, you taking off, Vicky? Or you have stuff up?
Angel is.
Oh, Angela. Oh, okay. Good night, Angelina. Is there anything else you want to say before you go?
Please.
Probably not. Probably can't. But it's cutting off too much, the connection.
I don't know.
I hear you right now. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. You can hear me? Oh.
Yeah. Maybe don't have the screen on so it's not taking stuff up, but try talking because we can hear you.
Well, now I don't know what to say. Now I'm on the spot. I thought you guys did great. It was fun. Yeah, well done. And it is a very interesting movie. Even just the thought of how we can get chance. Well, he got chance after chance, but really in our own lives, we also get chance after chance. We just have to see it and recognize it. So,
or like they have the voiceover at the end, which I don't think in the movie, where he like comes to the conclusion of like, you got to take life as you see it and do the best you can right then and right there and stuff. Or something better than that. The writer's probably upset with that too. Like, I wrote this so good. It's so perfect, this paragraph at the end, and they don't use it.
Yeah.
What was that, Angel?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
You cut out a little, so I couldn't hear what you said.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Heather, Morgan, we haven't heard from you guys yet.
This was a random thought, but it made me think of this is almost the same plot line of Russian Doll on Netflix, the new show, where she dies and comes back and has to relive. So I just thought it was an interesting comparison.
I watched a video on this movie, and the thing they brought up is right before Bill Murray did this movie, he did the movie Scrooge, which is kind of similar. An arrogant guy taking backseat in his life in these different stages, and then the character changes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And a funny thing too, like Heather, you were talking about you doing justice or the character not. Like at first, when the writer wrote this, he wrote it with Kevin Kline in mind, and then the two people they approached and offered the role to was Tom Hanks and Michael Keaton, I think.
Yeah. Tom Hanks was considered too nice, and Michael Keaton they felt could play the jerk, but they weren't sure if he could pull off the pathos at the end. I'm like, I think he could have done it. The man was Batman, and nobody believed in that casting. They're like, this guy, but I mean, honestly, I think he's one of the best both sides of the characters. George Clooney is probably the best Bruce Wayne we have ever seen. But I'm gonna say it. I mean, the man was born to play it. I don't think he's a very convincing Batman, but I don't know. If you're looking at both sides of the coin, who's believable in both ways, who would you look at and not for 1 second believe this guy runs around in a bat costume at night? I totally buy Keaton's Batman for that. It's the best of both sides. So.
I'm glad.
Getting back to the movie. I'm so sorry I keep hijacking it and taking it off to other movies. Please go back.
I want to talk about that more, but actually, no, you're right. We'll stay on course. Stay on target. Stay on target. All right, Heather, thoughts? More thoughts?
It's sort of like about time where that guy just keeps leaping to different points and doing different things, isn't it?
Yeah, and he comes up with the same conclusion at the end where he's like, I used to go back and relive it twice like this, but now I know if I do it right the first time, I don't have to. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, there is a movie I think that took this to kind of an extreme and may have actually taken elements of it originally. It's called The 12 Dates of Christmas. It's an extremely cheesy. Don't at me, please, for liking this movie, but I do. This woman like misses her opportunity to meet somebody who may be perfect for her and lives Christmas over or Christmas Eve like 12 days over. She keeps waking. It does do midnight, but like at one point she goes entirely self-centered and like gets like a makeover at a salon and buys like a bunch of expensive stuff and gets a tattoo and buys a sports car and like gets a ticket on it, rips up the ticket, throws it out the window, like does all this stuff. And I'm like, and it keeps changing whether she's being selfish, whether she's helping someone. She knows what happens with all this stuff. She goes earlier and later in people's days to see what happened. And I'm like, this is Groundhog Day as a rom-com, which if you look at Groundhog Day a certain way, it technically is a rom-com. But I was like, this is Groundhog Day with a female protagonist as a rom-com. And I can't help it. I really like that movie too. But yeah, it was, I think they may have gotten a hold of the original script because there's a lot of stuff that's in this that is in that. Down to the tattoo. I'm like, no, wait a minute. No. Yeah, the car, I'm like, there's no, too many similarities.
One thing I learned in the original script is that you find out later as a twist that the Annie character, or whatever her name is on this, that she is in her own time loop as well.
Yeah, and she has to. She thinks she can get out of it by attempting to curse others because that'll break the curse that's on her, which I found very interesting. And so he's been in it for 10,000 years. There was another version of the script where he'd already been in it. Yeah, I think this is at least third draft of the script. This is after somebody started messing around with the story. So.
Yeah, Harold Ramis or whatever. But sorry, that's all. No, but I love those time travel movies like you're talking about. What's the one with John Belushi where he hits the home run or not? I don't think it's Mr. 9000, 3000, Mr. Fantastic. I don't know, but if you guys haven't seen that one's also great.
John Belushi played a baseball player?
No, he's like, if I would have only hit that home run in high school, my whole life would have changed. And so he meets somebody and he goes back and he sees it from that perspective. And yeah, and there's the movie Sliding Doors, which is a little.
That's like two versions of your life, like what happens if you made it versus what if you didn't. And it's like there are other movies that are kind of like that too.
There's a TV show like that, Ordinary Joe.
Christmas Every Day, 1990s. I think it was an ABC family movie or the Family Channel movie, sort of like the precursor to like Disney Channel original movies. And yeah, Eric Von Detten has to relive Christmas over and over again. Tries a lot of the same stuff. Goes through the very similar arc. Tries to get the girl, fails. Tries to stand up to this. Tries to be incredibly selfish. Tries to do good all day and just goes home and listens to the news report about like, hey, this mysterious kid was helping, but then all this other bad stuff happened that he couldn't possibly have helped. Or it's like, you're 13-year-old kid, just get your life right. It's okay. You don't have to save everything. That was I think this has been redone a lot. I think it's a very interesting premise that can be done a lot of different ways while still hitting a lot of the similar points. So it was I kind of like.
And if you do it different enough, even though a lot of movies have done same type of things, but you'll still enjoy it and it can be unique on its own. Yeah. But other thoughts on it, Vicki?
Christmas Every Day would be horrible. It would lose the magic. It would just be horrible. And the cooking, oh my goodness.
Oh, I wouldn't want Christmas every day. I don't know how to feel about Christmas, to be fair.
Other thoughts on Groundhog Day?
I'm just full of trivia, so I'm trying not to like just hijack it for nothing but Groundhog trivia. But
you know what? We value your input.
But it's great to like give time for everyone to talk.
It's
so that's
annoying that you see yourself in such a poor light. Stop it.
it's not necessarily poor. I
don't correct.
I don't want to dominate the conversation, sounding like an IMDb,
Yeah, but you know what? It's fun that you see. It's fun that you have all this trivia and stuff, and we appreciate it, and we appreciate you. So knock off. No,
okay,
you're not going to sell fast.
I'll ask a question. I'll ask a question, Petra.
I will. Okay, you can ask me questions. I will do really quickly, like 30-ish seconds of just random stuff that I know that I don't think has ever been on an IMDb page. So the chick that plays Nancy was only selected because of her extremely traditional Chicagoan accent. She has this very recognizable voice that goes up like a chipmunk. And the year after this movie, she is the woman that gets seduced by Johnny Depp at the beginning of Don Juan DeMarco. And she was cast because they liked her in this movie. And she said that getting seduced by Johnny Depp was like getting to pretend that he was, the world's greatest lover with her was probably one of the most fun things she'd ever done, aside from having Bill Murray hit on her every day for like a week. Like, what? That's a cool thing.
We love your encyclopedia brain.
Okay. Jacob, if you have questions, go ahead. I can tell you random stuff. So.
No, I forget what the question was. I was trying to look up the other thing. I'm like, what's the name of that movie? So I got distracted on my own thing. I think it was when I was looking up stuff, they were saying that critics had issues with this movie and its structure. So
yeah, they said that like he's not the arc seems too believable, but also there were other characters that seemed like they should have been more the focus, or a lot of people had an issue with the fact that they don't explain what happens and why it's like, guys, just go with the It's a Wonderful Life subplot. He has to wait until he's a better person or something. And that's
basically a guy overcomes his arrogance through supernatural events. I don't think it's a hard plot. It's not a terrible plot. It must have been somebody other than Rotten Tomatoes giving an input they didn't really understand and weren't justified making.
Right. And I do know that they specifically avoided, even though they do have him doing bad and occasionally illegal things, very dangerous things throughout the movie, both the original scriptwriter, every single iteration of the script, Danny Rubin avoided it, and Harold Ramis avoided having Phil go too far with other people. He didn't kill anyone, if you don't count the car on the tracks thing. He only ever really injured himself. If, when that was a scene, he only really ever endangers himself and the groundhog, and that's only once. And other than that, they really were trying to get away from the idea that at some point he's going to realize you can do anything without consequence. And at that point, it's like that Torchwood arc about the time without consequences. And I'm like, yeah, that stuff. If you think too long about it, it will go into a very, very dark part of human nature that I don't think we really need to look at. This was meant to be very light, so I did kind of like that.
The second version, yeah, it's kind of cool. They touched on that subject, like, all right, what are like the 12 stages of grief, or what are the things you would try if you were in this situation?
Yeah, so. But it's like he goes down those paths, but he doesn't go all the way down those paths, which I think it's good. It leaves a degree of you kind of don't want this guy to not come back from this. So, I mean, he's trying desperately to get out of it, but you kind of want him to at the end of it. So I think
that actually poses a question, and we can talk about this if you want, only if you want.
What's the
question?
If
you had a time loop you were stuck in, what would you do with it?
I think that's like, kind of there are similar questions that you can ask about like most movies, like what would you do if you were in that situation?
Have we ever asked this question though, like so openly? I don't think we've ever asked it.
And it's cool. The movie
every time I watch the movie, I have kind of the same answer. I think, don't get me wrong, it's at some point I'm going to get extraordinarily bored, but I'm a little bit like that guy from the Twilight Zone episode of Time Enough at Last. I really, really like the idea of being able to read as much as I want without having anything else as a demand on my time. It's like, no, there are already more books in the world than I will ever have a chance to read in my lifetime. And that depresses me, especially when I have a bad tendency to reread things I've already read 20 times anyway, which is time away from something I could be reading. But it's like, so obviously one go around for as long as it lasts, for at least a little while, I'm just going to sit and read anything that I want to read. Followed by that, it's picking up any skill that I can, because you have to dedicate
and I knew it. The crossword puzzles would come into it, wouldn't it?
Not even necessarily crossword puzzles. I mean, literally just brushing up on a musical instrument and training myself. As long as YouTube is still existing, whether I'm in a time loop or not, I can sit there and watch the same stuff over and over again. That's fine.
Yes, and the crossword puzzle, learning a new skill. You would do the crossword puzzles over and over and over, wouldn't you?
No. I would read stuff that would be crossword clues over and over again. I would.
Oh, yes, you would, Gil Grissom. Yes, you would.
Yes, I would read books that know what's in the crossword clues and all of the answers on Jeopardy. That's what I would do if I were in a time loop. I would learn.
I knew it.
So boring. I would learn. I'm terrible, but I would learn skills.
Oh, you're not. You're just very much a Gil Grissom.
I know.
I agree. I talk with other people about like living forever, and they're like, "Oh, I would get so bored. Like everyone would get bored." I'm like, "No way. There's already have more ideas and stories and things I want to create than I can do in a lifetime or multiple lifetimes." And then again, learning all these different abilities and skills, going to all the different places around the world. Like, no, not
You'd
me.
probably make a comic book.
We're also getting into a dangerous split of the genre right now. Are you talking about getting stuck in a time loop where you're living the same day over and over again and doing whatever you want to change it? Or are you talking about immortality where your life just goes on?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. You
Those
are
two different
so
things.
Gil. I swear to God.
Those are two different things, because that's the thing. There's a really fantastic dissection. It's a group of immortals, and I really like their particular philosophy, because they sort of, without meaning to, get a mortal in their midst. Like one of them, this is their best friend, and one of them becomes the love interest, and one of them years ago saved them because that's what they, do with their time on Earth, because that's what they feel they've been given this gift for. And one of them, they become like they go out occasionally and not drinking, but they kind of sit and discuss philosophy, because no one else in his group, in his family that he's known for a couple of centuries at this point, will go and talk to him about it. And yet every single one of them at one point touches on the point of immortality, including the one who predates time, like recorded time, which is always the joke. Like she's like,
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, at one point he talks about, they're like, wouldn't you, what would you wouldn't want superpowers? You wouldn't want to do this, or would do that.
If you had endless time.
And he comments that like, it's like being a tree, and the problem is you can't ever put your roots down because your roots will continue to grow. And at some point, the other trees will notice. You always have to keep moving and finding a new forest to plant yourself in for a while while your roots grow, and then you have to pull yourself up and move again. And I'm like, that is both beautifully put and wonderfully depressing. And yeah,
So
I really
you're talking like an Age of Adeline type thing.
Yeah, and there's a TV show like that, I think called Forever or something. But Heather, Vicky, Morgan, you guys haven't had a chance to answer the question.
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You asked it, Heather. What's your
You
answer?
didn't answer it either.
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't do the time loop. I changed it, which brought up the other conversation.
Yeah.
Time loop, I think, kind of like what Petra's saying. It's like it'd more be about learning skills, because it's something that you can retain afterwards, because nothing else you create or do is going to have a lasting
You'd
effect.
probably end up making endless films and comics because you'd forever live 25.
But not if it's a recurring, the time loop, because you create something, you go like, it's gone the next day. So it'd be probably more about the experiences themselves that you can retain, or something you can learn, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
Vicky?
If I was like immortal or whatever, I'd probably write a ton of books and be in a ton of films and just do things with that my body otherwise couldn't do.
But you'd only ever get to be in like one scene. You'd only ever get to film like once and then go off and do another project. It's one day.
If it's a time loop or the immortal thing too.
Yeah. If it's immortal, absolutely be in anything you want. If it's a time loop, you have to you get to do one thing and then move on to
Yeah. Okay.
Morgan and Vicky, if you guys aren't going to answer that yet, I am going to let you guys know that the title of the movie I was talking about is Mr. Destiny. So, Jim Belushi, Michael Caine, Linda Hamilton.
Never heard of it.
See, here's the baseball one. It's just one that I don't know, I love. It's a similar type concept thing. But from my childhood.
I will look it up later.
As far as living forever,
And we're talking about in perfect health.
yeah, and if you were the only one, if you were alone, everyone else was living and dying in front of you, that can be very difficult. Being caught in a loop like this movie, that would be bad. It would. I mean, because it's a trap. It's you're imprisoned, and that's never good. So no, I wouldn't want to be caught in a loop. But yeah, I would live forever if I had someone with me, if I had a partner.
You have any thoughts on it, Morgan, that you'd want to talk about?
If I had to live the same day every day, I would definitely want to do it with friends and family. That's it. That's what I got.
That's so nice.
It just raises questions for me. Like, okay, you do something the first day. What do you do on day like 3,000 with that family? You're like every day we propose a different game, propose watching a different movie.
Yeah, just live life and do everything you possibly can, but do it with the people that you care about most.
That is awesome. Like, imagine, again, the day is going to be set. You don't have to worry about how much something costs. You're like, let's go do this. Let's go do this super expensive thing. Let's go do this other thing that doesn't cost money. Like, so many things you could do with that group. That's awesome.
So,
because everyone always says, like, live your day like it's your last. Like, you can't, because it's going to continue. You have to go to work. You have to pay bills. If it was our last day, this is not what we'd be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you knew it was your last day, you would drain your bank account. You would do something you always wanted to do. And you would not expect to wake up in the morning having to deal with the consequences of whatever you did your day.
Or not go to work because you can spend it with your family, but because, we don't know. But interesting on the screenplay, I saw that some of the edges were just the way they scanned it in or whatever cut off. So good job reading and filling up those extra letters, Petra, that weren't there. It's interesting that they switched from format a little bit. Somehow it was one format and it switched to a different format. I don't know if it's just how it's captured.
Like shrunk. I was like, were you trying to just get more on the page, or did you have a set? Was it just random?
Page 37. I only have one note. It was a deleted scene, so it's a scene that's not in the movie. I think it's maybe the car race or the car crashing, the car driving thing, but also just how it was all action. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh yeah.
And I guess.
Well, and the room destruction, which was not in the movie either. That and anytime that he did something and then had to wake up perfectly normal, like the shaving his head and stuff like that. One, they told him that they could put him in like either use a double or put him in a bald cap, but they could not get the effect to match when they tried to shoot the scene, and so they elected to cut it out. They're like, we can't get the I'm not sure exactly what technique it would have been, but they could not get it to match up. And so I
heard the room destruction thing. Like they did film it. Like we know how much filming costs. Like, and he had a mohawk and he destroyed it, and so it took him like 3 days that they filmed all these things, but then edited them out, cut them out, not in the movie. Yeah.
And the Groundhog bit Bill Murray. I do know this.
Yeah, like
so
3 times.
They actually, the only reason that it is because they wanted to make sure if they had the Groundhog, because he was really like on a flatbed and stuff like that. They're like, if we have the Groundhog in the thing, we can't just leave him in the cage. He took him out, and he had him up on the thing, and when he's going, don't drive angry, the Groundhog is trying to crawl over the thing because it hated Bill Murray so much. They don't know why. It loved Brian Green, Brian Murphy, who is his brother, who plays Buster. I did not know this. There are 6 Murray brothers. I don't know.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah, and Brian tends to show up. Yeah, Brian tends to show up in a lot of Bill's movies too. He's just a great little side character. But he showed up and for whatever reason loved his brother and could not stand Bill Murray. It kept trying to bite him. It actually did bite him bad enough they had to pause filming so he could go get either rabies or tetanus shot or something. It bit through his glove into his thumb, hit the bone. I'm like, well, there you go. And it was like literally right after they cut in that scene where it's like, don't drive angry, don't drive angry. It was trying to crawl over the steering wheel to get away from him. I was like, leave me alone. It's like, I'm gonna bite you. And it did, so. Somebody else would talk, I'm sorry.
Bill Murray has a pretty big family.
6 of them. Look at them. Look at them all in that first shot. It's crazy. You know, they're neither of them is the oldest. I think Brian is the second, and Bill's the third oldest. And one of their youngest, I think the youngest of the 6, he's that goofy guy who you see in a lot of sitcoms, whose name I cannot remember, but obviously he's Murray. So I was like, yeah, that guy. If you saw him, you'd know who I was talking about with that one.
All right. Anything else? I think we talked about a lot of awesome stuff, I think, already, but anything else anybody want to bring up or talk about?
What's
about
next
movie,
week?
the film, the script, what? Any of it.
Good question, Heather. And I think the form is already made. Let me double check. Maybe not. Let's see. Next week, we are doing The Big Sick. We're reading The Big Sick.
That was a good.
I don't even know what that is.
And based on, it's actually based on the real story of Kumail Nanjiani and his wife. So.
Who?
Did you see The Eternals? Okay, I'll send you a picture of Kumail Nanjiani.
Yes, PM me.
Again, if you saw him, you know.
It's another one of those stories. Again, I don't know the exact numbers. That's kind of like an indie movie that did really, really well.
Extremely well, yeah.
Yeah, makes me think of like My Big Fat Greek Wedding or whatever. Like.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, somebody PM me on the info later, not here. I won't keep the info if it's here. PM me in a social media.
Well, in that case, I guess since we're not in a time loop, we will end this.
Yes, I'm sure people want to get sleep as long as they haven't planned to overwork themselves past 1 a.m. Jacob.
I mean, in 2 hours, I'm teaching a class. But
oh good God, really?
No.
I mean, I set it up that way on purpose. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be up anyways. This is the time I know is available. So.
Okay.
You really do work really, really hard, and I'm really proud of you. But for heaven's sake, get some sleep.
Get some sleep.
I will. I do. I get too much. Anywho, all right, you guys. Go live your best lives, the one chance we have every day.
Thank you.
All right.
And everybody, go live your best lives. And thanks for tuning in tonight.
Yes, like, subscribe, share.
And I do think it's great that you cast me. I do think it's great that you cast me as the reporter guy, considering the career I did before I went back to school. So thank you.
Thank you all. To all a good night.